Unfiltered and raw. Say it how I feel, that's law. Stars and stripes on my heart. I ain't ever gonna tear that off. From the back road dust to the big white house we saw. I'm pro-America standing tall. Unfiltered, unfiltered and raw. This for the welders, the nurses, the cashiers counting every dime. This for the soldiers in camo who do it all again each time. Salute. We ain't scared of their labels, we just call it like we saw. Proud to be American. Unfiltered and raw.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show this evening. I appreciate everybody being here. A little late to the party. Sorry about that. Had a couple things going on. Let me adjust this real quick. Appreciate everybody being here. What up, SOCOM? What's going down, bro? Heavy. And Mr. Arturo. The thumbnail is fire. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you, Arturo. From a gentleman such as yourself, I appreciate that. But appreciate everybody being here. So today, guys, today's was going to be an interesting stream. I'm going to play the whole Anthony Fauci testimony, all that good stuff. We're going to play the whole thing. I'll drop in with little things here and there, my opinion, analysis, stuff like that, things I'm thinking, and a bunch of other random clips from COVID when that shit show was going on, the lockdowns and everything else involved, right? From the guy that decided he wanted to go surfing on the beach and the boats rolled in on him, threw his ass in jail. They were in California. A lot of things happened in California, let's just be real, but all over the country. They were filling in the half pipes, the skate parks with sand, all the batshit crazy stuff. And we forget about how batshit crazy a lot of this stuff was, you know, because it's over with. But when you go back and you look at some of this stuff, I mean, it just boggles my mind. Like when I'm looking through this stuff, I am just like, what was going on, right? It is so batshit crazy when you go back and revisit these things, like some of the videos, and it almost is like, wow, dystopia or like 1984 humorous, right? But it's real. It really happened, right? So it's crazy to go back and revisit those videos, even if it's just a snippet. I found a really nice one of a lot of the media. Remember, don't trust the unvaccinated. We need to start pointing the finger at them because they're to blame for everything in the world. All the crazy stuff. I spent most of today just kind of looking for those really good meaty ones, reviewing them. And I'm telling you, my head was like, it was blowing up. It's just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. The level that we're at just a few years ago with COVID. So this brings up the idea of, let's say, if there was another type of pandemic, right? How is our government going to respond, and how are people going to respond? I was earlier today in a X space kind of listening, and I talked for a little bit, but whatever. The shit that people went through is just insane. You know, the deaths and people being having mental health issues. You know, one gal was talking about her daughter or son. I forgot. I didn't catch what it was. My apologies if you're listening. But anyway, they had committed suicide, right? Because they had diabetes, they had this condition, that condition, all these things. And the doctors told them, hey, because of COVID, you need to get vaccinated. So she got vaccinated and had all these complications from the vaccine because she already had comorbidities, right? The diabetes, this, all this list of shit going on. And she got an even worse position. And not only because of her personal health that she was in, the mental health kicked in and she ended up killing herself. And that's just one example. So, you know, the old saying, a single death is a tragedy, but a million is just simply a statistic, right? A statistic, right? So if you look at COVID as a whole, we had a lot of people, you know, whether it was they died from this or that, or because of comorbidities or stuff like that, or because of vaccine injuries, stuff like that, whatever it may be, right? And there's also an interesting If you remember they were like everybody was getting on the stage taking the vaccines, right? And I think it was the Cleveland Heart Institute, whatever it is, right? Some big organization where they were trying to have the media there, and they're filming it. They're like, "Hey, we're going to give this gal a vaccine." They gave her the vaccine, and she's like, "Wow, I'm feeling a little woozy right now." And she falls on the ground, and they're like, "Oh shit!" All the doctors are like, "What do we do? What's the protocol?" It's not your usual, someone scared of needles and having that phobia passing out. That was a very common thing with the COVID vaccine. People would get the vaccine, get this woozy feeling, lightheadedness, and just fall over, pass out. I mean, it happened a lot. And if you ever had access or do have access or know about the VERS system, VERS, it's the vaccine, whatever it is, it's registry related to adverse reactions for the vaccine. So a lot of those things, if you've gone in there, and I've personally gone in there years ago, you could see all the various things related to the vaccine, and some of the things are non-reportable. So someone simply passing out from a vaccine might be required to be reported, but a lot of the smaller facilities that were doing these things were probably not reporting, right? Even bigger facilities, just because there's a requirement to report any type of vaccine injury or problem, right, or adverse reaction, doesn't mean every single facility was going and doing it. But the numbers that are there that were doing it, it'll just blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. So I'm going to get the Fauci thing on. And before we go and listen to the whole thing, I want to point out also how deceptive the media is still being on this topic. Because if you go to C-SPAN, which is allegedly, where you get your government speak, right? Where the government hearings and so on and so forth, right? They did a very, very interesting thing. They interestingly jumped into the hearing after something very important that Rand Paul was saying in the beginning. And it's going to show you who their true masters are. So I want to show you that, like where they decided to jump in on the live Senate hearing and show you what was actually said versus what C-SPAN put out there to the public. And I'm going to show you that part, and then we'll switch over to probably C-SPAN and continue there. But I want to show you one little snippet of information at the beginning of the hearing that was left out. So let me share my screen really quick here, guys. Live Fauci. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to show you both of these screens really quick. And let me get this up. Let me share this other one too so we can have them both up and kind of compare. And I'm going to show you, is it this one here? Yes, C-SPAN. Okay. All right. So if you the large screen in front of us, let me get this up on my screen over here. This large screen in front of us comparative to this other screen, which is, let me see. There we go. Okay, so if you look the large screen with this big, goofy looking, ginger looking bastard, right? That's going to be the C-SPAN's feed, right? So if you look, Rand Paul is looking back to his gorgeous aide there that sits behind him. That's probably a CIA spook, feeding him info. I'm just joking. Probably is the truth, but whatever. So he's looking to his right, behind him, having a chat with him. And in the upper left corner, it's the drawn back version of AP. And this is going to be the full one's going to be on AP. We're going to get that first initial clip. So I'm going to play this one, and you'll see that they drop in and we miss a very critical few sentences. So I'm going to play this. Let me make sure the audio is up, and then I'm going to go back to AP and play it through the whole thing. So right here.
You can see on the screen Senator Rand Paul, who will lead the questioning for Dr. Anthony Fauci's Senate hearing on the origins of COVID-19. Another edition of Washington Journal comes your way tomorrow morning.
Theory that the virus arose naturally.
All right, so right there. So I'm going to stop there. So where he picked up was, right, keep in mind of the wording here. This is all what's called tradecraft, guys. And media is involved in a special type of skill. It's called trade. They have a tradecraft like any other operation that's done, right? Okay, so his opening thing is that you would think from C-SPAN is that COVID-19 originated naturally, right? I mean, let me replay it so you can get the exact wording, right? Just listen. It's
Washington
crazy
Journal
when you
comes
see
your way
this.
tomorrow morning.
It's
Theory that
crazy.
the virus arose naturally.
The virus arose naturally. Okay, let me switch this up for you guys and let's get what he initially said before he said that, right? Because it's important to put things in context, right? Without the meaning of context, context doesn't matter if you don't have the full picture. And the media is very great at this. Now, let me play it. You could see him in the center where the door is, top center. He's looking back where the American flag is. You could kind of see his assistant there, his aide. He's leaned back saying something to her, right? And this is going to be the full audio of what he initially says. So I'm going to play it. So again, C-SPAN showed us that the virus arose naturally, right? Now let's go back and hear the first few sentences that he said before he said that, right? Let's put it in context.
1 million Americans died from COVID-19. Some estimate as many as 15 million people died worldwide from COVID-19. Publicly, Anthony Fauci promoted the theory that the virus arose naturally, while
Do you see what happened there, guys? Do you see what happened? He's sitting and saying that Dr. Fauci had made that claim. Whereas if you go and you only watch C-SPAN, the initial start of it was already a lie, making it seem like that he's espousing that the virus was natural. That is not coincidence, guys. That's tradecraft right there. If you're not paying attention to these little things, you're just going to be deceived by the media. And there's a lot of that stuff. I'm not going to break it all down with you guys. I'm just not. But I wanted to point that out to everybody. Just that one little thing. I'm going to switch back to C-SPAN here, just because it's better audio, and we'll continue with this here. Let me get rid of this screen here. But I wanted to show you guys that, just for the simple fact that the media, even after the fact, is still trying to cover its tracks, right? Still trying to say, hey, China wasn't involved, right? It's just absolutely batshit crazy, guys. Like right off the gate, they're already lying to us.
He was well aware of a mountain of evidence suggesting the virus originated in the lab. The American people deserve answers. The American people deserve to know why dangerous research was funded by NIAID in a totalitarian country, in a lab that lacked acceptable safety standards. The decision to fund dangerous gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, will likely go down in history as perhaps one of the worst public health decisions. Frankly, the American people deserve an apology. I hope
more than an apology.
Fauci will come clean, admit it was a mistake to fund
more than an
dangerous
apology
research in China, admit that the risk of this dangerous research exceeded any possible benefits, ask forgiveness, and pledge to help our government devise safeguards so a man-made epidemic never happens again. Instead of an apology, you have for years avoided responsibility. Regarding the lockdowns, you argue that you did not personally issue every lockdown order, close every school, or impose every mandate. But officials across the country invoked your authority to justify these decisions. And you presented your recommendations not as judgments open to debate, but as dictates of science itself. Your own words demonstrate that you understood the influence you exercised. On March 14th, 2020, you wrote that the task force recommendations were driven by me, yourself, Deb, and CDC. The next day you wrote that you had convinced Mayor Bill de Blasio to close the New York City schools, so you were involved. That same night, Governor Gavin Newsom's chief of staff told you that the governor had decided to close California schools, bars, and restaurants after watching you on television. Presidents, governors, mayors, school boards, corporations, and Congress all bear responsibility for the decisions they made. The COVID lockdown, however, could never have been inflicted without you aiding and abetting the crime. Children
Like an
lost
accomplice
years
to
of
a crime.
education. Small businesses built
He was an
over a lifetime
accomplice
disappeared.
to a crime
Patients
against
delayed
humanity.
cancer screenings and
Period.
other medical care. Families were separated from dying relatives. Workers were ordered to accept a medical procedure or lose their jobs. Worship assembly, employment, education, and travel were restricted in the name of science. Well, you did not impose every restriction. You used your public authority to justify them.
Yeah, and
Well,
where
you
is that same
concluded
argument
publicly
too, guys?
that
That same argument is, that the Nazis used. Well, I didn't do XYZ. I only gave the order. I was following orders, right? Very common thing when you're talking about people that commit genocide or people that commit war crimes. It's a very common thinking to justify their actions as if though that scapegoat will get them out of the reality of their actions caused the death of others. It's insane, guys, to hear it over and over and over.
it occurred naturally, your private record tells a different story. In early 2020, your hand-picked virologist warned that the virus appeared to have been manipulated in the lab. In a conference call concerning the origin of the virus, all but 2 of the participants believed deliberate insertion was possible. Your concern was not merely theoretical. That same week, you led an urgent effort to determine whether your own agency had funded the research related to these experiments that were now under suspicion. Hours later, your assistant reported that the Wuhan experiments had indeed been reviewed and approved by the NIH.
And funded. Mind you, and funded.
Believe that a research-related origin was an absurd conspiracy theory. They were the actions of officials urgently trying to determine whether their agency funding was connected to the research under discussion, connected to the pandemic. You could not hide that your agency had funded the Wuhan research or your long history of defending gain-of-function research. The only alternative left was to argue that COVID-19 did not originate in the Wuhan lab.
And we know that's a bunch of bullshit.
Observer. You had an institutional interest in the public believing that federally funded research had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was a conflict of interest from the very beginning. The authors of the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 privately had serious doubts about a natural origin. Within days,
serious
though,
doubts,
they
not
flipped,
just, oh, it's just serious
and they all
doubt.
wrote
It's
the proximal
legitimate
origin that the
concerns
virus was
about the
almost
theory.
certainly not a laboratory construct.
Remember, the intelligence community
That
said,
paper was
well,
then used by the government and the
that
media
nonsense,
and
right?
you
The same group of
to
people that
discredit
were
Americans who were
withholding
asking the same
President
questions
Trump's
that you and the
daily
authors
briefing.
were asking
Remember that?
yourselves privately. You even cited proximal origin from the White House podium. You held it out as evidence that the virus could not have been engineered, but you didn't disclose your role in the discussions that preceded the writing of the paper. You did not disclose the author's original concerns. You did not reveal that you had been part of the paper, that you had read and offered editorial comments on the paper before it was published.
Talking about peer review,
before you
right?
began using it as
Peer review, you're
evidence
reviewing your own
that it
shit.
couldn't have originated in the lab. You did not disclose that you had immediately investigated yourself whether NIAID funding might be connected to the research. You did not tell the American people the full story. Duly released private messages indicate that the doubts with the authors and others didn't disappear after the publication. So while this was being waived at the White House to show that it couldn't come from the lab, the authors were still
They were still saying
continuing to
otherwise,
assign
right?
a meaningful probability to a laboratory origin, one thing in public and another in private. Some of the same scientists discussed avoiding email and carefully managing communications that might eventually be obtained under the Freedom of Information Act.
Crazy.
The pattern is straightforward. Privately, there was alarm, then an immediate inquiry to see if NIAID's possible exposure to funding, then a rapid public declaration of certainty, continued private doubt, and then years of resistance to disclosure. The question is why? The only logical answer is that your primary concern was avoiding culpability. Your primary concern
That was the
hiding
only
fact
concern
that you
he
had
had.
approved the funding for this dangerous
And it's the
research.
only concern he still
Your
has.
support of gain-of-function research is extensive and long-standing. In 2011, your agency funded Ron Fauci's laboratory when it mutated the avian flu until it could spread through the air between mammals. This was the tipping point. This is when others became worried. You funded this. You advocated for this. The federal government's own biosecurity board, though, recommended withholding the details of these experiments because of the danger the research posed. People were concerned that publishing it was publishing a roadmap to creating bioweapons around the world. But
Yeah,
you sided
sure,
with the
Fauci.
gain-of-function scientist Fauci and argued that the benefits of publishing the research far outweighed the risks. You defended this avian flu transmissibility experiments as critical research. You wrote that even if a scientist became infected and triggered a pandemic, the benefits of the gain-of-function experiments outweighed the risk. In 2014, your agency,
He believed his
NIAID,
personal
began funding
opinion,
the
without based
Wuhan
off any
bat
facts,
coronavirus
was
work.
that gain of function research on this
In
particular
2015, Ralph Barrick and the Chinese
virus
scientist Shi
outweighed
Zhengli published NIAID
benefits outweighed the risks.
research combining a bat
We know that not to
coronavirus
be-
spike
to
protein
not be
with
true
a
now.
SARS backbone. The resulting
So
virus
he was wrong.
could infect human airway cells. It's a novel virus that now can infect human cells. It gained transmissibility, it gained function. In 2018,
And they did
the
it all
same
in a
group of
lab.
Scientists,
It's a
Eco Health,
zoonotic
Barrick, Shi,
spillover
and their
is what it's
collaborators
called.
submitted the
A
diffuse
virus that's
proposal.
isolated within a bat
Diffuse
population
proposal, which
was
involved
isolated
the
that way,
insertion of a
not
fluorinated
transmittable.
into the coronavirus.
They mutated it in a
DARPA
lab through
rejected it
gain of
as too
function
dangerous.
research.
When
To,
COVID was
like he
sequenced,
said,
though,
improve the
early
gain,
on in
improve the
January
function,
2020,
had a
within
zoonotic
days,
spillover,
scientists
meaning it went from
discovered
animals that
lo
it
and
would stay
behold,
within
it had a
them
novel
to
furin-cleavage
humans.
site, just as had been
Absolute
proposed in the diffuse
bioweapon. There's
product.
no way to refute it.
This was
That's
either
what
an
a
extraordinary
bioweapon
coincidence
is.
or a smoking gun, evidence that the Chinese had created COVID-19. It made the laboratory origin question more legitimate, and it made your categorical public denials indefensible. On May 11th, 2021, you told the Senate, the NIH has never, ever, and does not now fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan, in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. When I gave you the
Such a
opportunity
fucking
to
lie.
correct the record, to reconsider the statement, you responded that you had never before lied to Congress. We were then told that only the government's narrowest regulation of definition counted here, that you
And
could
we
define
know
gain
that
of
he
function
did
in one
lie.
way in which this wasn't
But we
gain
know
of
he
function,
did lie.
in which
And he
all of the
may
common
be
sense of the
protected
world
by
would be
the
thrown
alleged
out.
pardon.
All of the idea that
Going
the
over
mice
that,
were
right?
dying and
But
the
this hearing-
virus was more transmissible
Good
didn't
luck,
matter
Fauci.
because you had a
Good
technical
luck, Mr.
definition
Fauci.
that allowed you to fund it. But the real question is, was it dangerous? Was it a wise decision to fund this? And you haven't deviated from that. You've never admitted that it could have been a mistake funding this research in China. The American people weren't asking for a semantics debate over what is gain of function. They were asking, does common sense say this research was dangerous in Wuhan? They wanted to know whether their money-funded experiments in Wuhan that made bat coronaviruses better able to infect humans. The answer is yes. They wanted to know whether NIAID adequately supervised their work. The answer is no. When you defended this research, you described its benefits in the broadest terms. But when Congress demanded accountability, you hid behind the narrowest possible definition. You can't have it both ways. Your conduct concerning federal records raises further questions. It is a crime to destroy federal records. Yet our investigation reveals your assistant diligently reported that she deleted tons of emails.
Another bleach bait effort,
2024,
right?
You testified that you did not delete federal records. Who's telling the truth? You or your assistant? The committee has obtained repeated instructions from you telling federal officials to delete communications. On February 2nd, 2020, one day after Origin's call, you told Francis Collins, please delete this email after you read it. The committee asked for your voluntary cooperation to come today. Your appearance had to be compelled by subpoena.
Right.
You're here today on
Remember, he
duress.
said,
You're
you know,
here
back
today
then,
because
I
of the
will
court
testify
ordering
before
it.
Congress
President
anytime I'm
Biden
asked.
issued
I've
your
done it
sweeping
100
pardon,
times.
extending back to 2014, the same pardon he gave to his son Hunter.
Through the
A
same
pardon may
mechanism.
protect
But
a
he
person
probably
from
was
criminal
aware of Hunter's
prosecution,
pardon.
doesn't
You know,
rewrite
Hunter's
history.
pardon rather than Demon
It does not
Fauci.
erase documents. It does not convert a misleading statement into a truthful one. And it does not prevent Congress from establishing what happened. There will be another pandemic. There will be another crisis. And there will again be officials who insist that uncertainty must be hidden for the public's own good. They will demand obedience. They will invoke science. I am the science, as though it were a commandment. They will argue that government officials cannot be questioned because questioning them would undermine public trust. They have it backwards. It is secrecy that destroys trust. It is arrogance that destroys trust. It is censorship that destroys trust. And it is the refusal to admit error that destroys trust. That loss of trust may be your most damaging legacy. Trust can't be ordered. It has to be earned. No scientist is
And
above
his
scrutiny.
legacy will
No
be
government
killing
official
millions
is
of
beyond
people and
accountability.
pleading the fifth.
And no
And maybe
public
prison
servant
time if
has
we're
the right
lucky.
to treat the suffering of millions of Americans as a footnote to his preferred version of history.
Let me stop there. And how do we know this is an interesting topic by in and of itself. How do we know that the bat virus was released? It's very simple, actually. Under Obama, we have agreements with universities or so on and so forth, and we actually supply the raw material to do research. Typically not gain of function research because we have a law actually against it, so they can do other things, right? So the Wuhan Institute is a level 3 it's a level 3 lab, right, to do research. We provided them the raw material. At that point, this strain was only infectious to within bats. They had to do gain of function research and mutate this virus and like a DNA strand and everything. It has certain markers that they could tell that this is not natural. They had to mutate the virus so that it could have what's called a spillover event. I mean, the spillover event is when it happens from animals to humans, but it's a zoonotic disease, meaning it plagues both animals and humans, right? The spillover is when that happens. This virus naturally, in its natural state, was only found within bats. It was a bat virus. So we know that it was released from the lab because the original organic, we'll call it, virus is only infectious within bats. So they mutated it in gain of function research, made it mutated. There was a spillover event, became a zoonotic disease, and now it infected humans. So logic would tell you that if it came from a lab and now it's out there, that it had to be released, right? Whether intentionally, maliciously, or accidentally, whatever. But let's think that out, right? Imagine a scenario. There's people in the lab working, and maybe they're exposed and they got sick, and maybe they accidentally spread it. Or what I tend to believe, it was intentional. I believe that China intentionally not only was involved in weaponization through gain of function research on this particular virus, I think they've intentionally released it too, because this was going on. Remember with the trade wars and all this stuff going on? I don't believe in coincidences whatsoever. There is no such thing of coincidences in my head whatsoever. I don't believe in them. I'm not going to believe in the tooth fairy or Santa Claus or any of that shit, because that's the line of logic in my head. If you believe in this was a coincidence, and to think that it came from the wet market, like the original theory, right? The original theory was the wet market. The wet market was right down the street from the Wuhan Institute where they alleged it came from. So it still had to come from the lab. No matter how it's spun by the left or by people that are Chinese mouthpieces, it came from the lab. It can't be refuted because that virus has genetic markers in it that show it was edited. It was edited by a human. Period. There's no refuting that. And that's actually not even brought up or talked about because it's not even being debated that is the case, right?
I now
Oh,
recognize Senator Peters for his
Oh, you know what? Before we go to this, let me pull something up really quick because I think this is funny. The background of Mr. Fauci. Let me pull this up really quick. Let me just pull this up really, really quick. Let me pull this up because this is pretty funny. Because this guy has been in government in this particular area of, viruses and pandemics and stuff. And remember, he was involved with the AIDS. And I'm not going to go into it a lot here with the AIDS thing because that's a whole separate topic. And I encourage you, if you don't know about it, go look into it. But I'm going to share this video when he talks about AIDS and how wrong he was then, like he is wrong today about everything, right? I'm going to play this video. This is Mr. Fauci when he was much younger. Let me make it big. Listen to what he says. This is talking about AIDS. This is talking about AIDS, guys.
Safe from the disease. This brings in the
Let me make sure it's turned up all the way so you can hear this. Turn up a little more. About AIDS. He's talking about AIDS here.
safe from the disease. This brings in the implications that there are other ways, just plain close contact. And given the
Let me stop there. All right, AIDS. Plain close contact. You could catch AIDS. Like, we know they knew then that wasn't true. So why is he getting on national television saying that's true?
long incubation period of this disease, we may be starting to see, as we're seeing virtually as the months go by, other groups that can be involved. And seeing it in children is really quite disturbing.
When you say other close contact, give me some examples.
Well, for example, if the close contact of a child is a household contact, perhaps there will be a certain number of cases of individuals who are just living with and in close contact with someone with AIDS or at risk of AIDS who does not necessarily have to have intimate sexual contact or share a needle, but just the ordinary.
Nearly simply living with someone with AIDS or being in close contact or maybe sitting on the same shitter as them, you can contact AIDS. Like, this guy was wrong then, and he's wrong now. He's always
close
been wrong.
contact that one
His whole
sees
career is
in
about being
normal
wrong.
interpersonal relationships. Now that
It's absolutely batshit crazy. So let me close that and get this guy back up, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to pull that up really fast. And I'll go back to some of these other things too at some point. Let me play this again. Oh, wrong screen, guys. Sorry about that. Batshit crazy.
The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee has a long and a very proud history of conducting serious oversight on behalf of the American people. When this committee has been at its best, Democrats and Republicans have worked together to investigate complicated issues, to follow the facts wherever they may lead, and produce recommendations that actually strengthen our nation's security and improve government functions. That bipartisan tradition has produced meaningful work following Hurricane Katrina, the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, failures at the Secret Service.
Always got to bring up
and
J6.
Other matters. Unfortunately, today's hearing is the latest step in the chairman's sharp departure from
Good Lord. The hearing is about the COVID virus, bringing someone that's directly involved in this whole operation, we'll call it.
Under the guise of
And the Democrats can never stop talking about Trump. They can never stop talking about January 6th. They can never stop pointing the finger. They can never talk about the topic at
In
hand.
2021, the chairman has called for today's witness to be fired, to be arrested,
Good. He should be.
accused him of leading cover-ups and conspiracies. He has even featured the witness prominently in fundraising emails and on the cover of his book. He has also called for the cancellation of the witness's security detail, despite the fact
Totally
the witness
agree with that
and
one.
his family have received numerous credible death threats. When I served as chairman, Senator Paul and I launched a bipartisan biosecurity investigation that included oversight of risky research and the origins of COVID-19, because we agreed that the committee's work would be stronger if we did it in a bipartisan manner and just followed the facts. That was and continues to be an area of legitimate and certainly needed oversight. As chairman, Senator Paul has taken.
Has he
the
mentioned
opposite
COVID one time,
approach.
guys?
He has abandoned longstanding practice by blocking.
Is he taking the
minority
opportunity to maybe
participation
ask a
in
question
committee
about
oversight
COVID?
actions, and has chosen
This is
to
the
selectively
Committee on
release
Homeland
committee
Security and
records
Governmental
that
Affairs,
the
right?
minority has never
And this
had
guy
any
is a
access to
ranking
in
member.
order to support his pre-drawn conclusions. The chairman has repeatedly excluded committee's minority and withheld documents and evidence from members that are entitled to receive them, disregarding longstanding Senate rules and committee precedent that have preserved the credibility of our oversight in this committee for decades. I have raised these concerns directly with the chairman because it's not just what we investigate that matters, but how we conduct that investigation. that also matters. One-sided investigations designed to validate predetermined conclusions do not serve the American people who sent us to actually uncover the truth and to solve problems.
Maybe that's what this guy should be doing, right? He has not mentioned the word COVID one time. Not one
But
time.
instead of addressing concerns that I raised, he removed part of the committee's website from the public view. This move not only prevented the public from being able to view those lists of concerns, it adds serious questions about the desire for transparency and legitimate oversight of this matter. But what makes today's hearing particularly disappointing is not simply the chairman's actions, but what we could be using this committee's true and time oversight responsibilities to accomplish.
Mr. Gary Peters, that's what we're supposed to be doing right now. Why would we want to hold someone accountable like Dr. Piece of shit Fauci that was at the forefront of not just this pandemic, the AIDS thing going on, and many other things in between and before, right? He is not this spring chicken. This guy has been in government for a very long time in this particular area, doing a lot of damage to the science,
including through bipartisan work that Senator Paul and I conducted together when I served as chairman of this committee. But rather than building on that work to strengthen our preparedness against future disasters, we are instead relitigating the past. COVID-19.
No, we never litigated the past. That's the problem. We never actually litigated the past. So there's no litigation happening. It was never litigated. He skirt past accountability with the auto pen pardon.
Those are the kinds of forward-looking, life-saving questions that will help our nation be better prepared to protect the health and the safety of Americans when the next emergency occurs. Unfortunately, at this precise moment, we should be strengthening our capabilities. The Trump administration seems to be doing everything in their power to actually weaken our capabilities.
God, this guy is such a loser, guys.
The public health workforce. They
He
have
is such a
fired,
loser.
pushed out, and cut funding for public health personnel, shrinking the CDC workforce by a quarter. Thousands of experienced scientists have left government service, and with them has gone critical institutional knowledge that cannot be easily replaced, certainly not quickly replaced. The administration,
has he mentioned
thanks to
COVID one time, guys?
operatives like Russell Vogt,
One time has he mentioned COVID. I have not heard him mention COVID. Maybe he slipped it in, but I have not heard it one time.
Technologies that let us rapidly develop them during an
Not
emergency.
one time I've ever heard the
Mr.
word
Vogt
COVID
is now
come out.
further politicizing the federal grant-making process, proposing to subject all federal grants, including those for disaster relief, housing development, and cancer research, to the whims of political appointees, not nonpartisan experts. All of this has left the American people more vulnerable to infectious disease threats, and we are already tragically.
So why don't we ask him questions, sir?
Staffing and funding cuts have slowed the federal, state, and local response to ongoing outbreak of a foodborne parasite, which has sickened thousands in my home state of Michigan.
Oh, so let's bring up
as well as
Taco
across
Bell,
the
right?
country.
Because
At
the
same time,
agricultural
the
workers
administration
took
cuts
shits
to
in the
global
field
health
and didn't wash their
programs and
hands, right?
international
So let's
partnerships
talk
have
about
greatly
that.
reduced
You know,
our
that
ability to
didn't
contain
kill anybody that I know of.
diseases like Ebola before they spread to our shores. We should be examining whether our federal health agencies have
And
the
you have to
personnel
kind of
and the
right here,
resources
guys,
they
when the
need
Democrats say
to
something, they
effectively
mean it.
prevent,
They have
protect,
this thing.
and
Demonic people
respond
have this
to
thing. You have
these
to give
threats.
them permission to come
We
into
should be
your
asking how to strengthen
sphere or
our
your
biodefense
influence
efforts
or
to
your
deter our
home or in
adversaries
your
and
mind.
prevent
What is he
biological attacks
what does he
against
keep
our
piping
country,
right here?
and how
The
our
next
government can better
pandemic,
coordinate
the
and
next
communicate
thing,
during
the next
public
major
health
event, right?
emergencies.
This is priming
These are
us
the kinds of forward-looking
for
matters that
there's
are
potentially
worthy-
something else in the
worthy
works,
of this
right? Or
committee's
something
time.
could happen, right? He's
Instead,
priming us.
We are here
Get
continuing the
conditioned,
chairman's year-long
right?
focus.
That's what
on
I'm
one
hearing from
individual.
this guy. Not let's
tells us,
litigate
unfortunately,
the problems of the past.
another pandemic is all
Let's
but inevitable.
anticipate this problem happening
is whether
again.
Congress
Not let's stop
and
it
this
from
committee
happening again.
will work
Let's
to better
pray for the
prepare
day for
our
it to come
country
again
for it.
because we want to lock people the
or
fuck down.
continue looking backward while our public health infrastructure crumbles around us. That is the hearing that we should be having.
Did he say COVID-19 one time, guys?
Unfortunately, I fear the intent of this hearing is only meant to further a purely partisan agenda and it will not make Americans safer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jesus Christ.
The
And you guys,
accusation that
anybody
the
can
media
call
deny
in
access to the
from
minority
now,
records is
basically. I mean,
categorical
I just I don't know if anybody tried to call, but it was on silent. But you guys can call in now. The phone line is right now open. I just read that. It was probably going to voicemail. But yeah, you guys can call in anytime. I'll pause it. We talk about it. But all I ask, have a clean line. No, mute the stream in the background so it's not echoing back and forth. And have a topic to talk about. But yeah, anybody can call in anytime.
This is the most transparent investigation
Yes,
in
the
the history of
plandemic.
Congress.
Exactly. That's the
We
next one
actually
coming. The
created a
plandemic.
website, and we put all of the information on the website. It continues to operate. The reason it hasn't been accessed.
Yeah,
is
and then
no
also the
Democrat
auto pen
ever
with
signed
related
up for
to
it.
his
Not one Democrat.
his
we
pardon,
told
right?
them the access. They
Related
never
to
asked
his
for the
pardon,
access
right?
code. They haven't been on the website because they have not cared
Bogus.
about the investigation.
Nowhere in the Constitution does it give the
It's
president
practice
power
in
to
this committee to swear in
let
the
someone else
witness.
give a
Dr.
pardon
Fauci,
without
please
them
stand and
knowing.
raise your right hand.
Let me answer this call real quick, guys.
Do you swear that the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help.
What's up? How we doing today?
Mr. Steve Merida, I got an opinion on Fauci. He's a piece of shit. You want to know what I think? It's all a big government fucking experiment to make everybody stay in their fucking houses for 8 months. And it's bullshit. I didn't stay in my fucking house. I didn't get the fucking shot. I'm all right. It's 6 years later. I'm still fine. What the fuck are they thinking? We're some science experiment like fucking China or Russia. Do what we say. Stay in your fucking house. It's bullshit. Total bullshit for the American people.
Yeah, total social experiment, and look how many people got in lockstep with it too, right?
Yes, sir. I know people that died from that shit right here where I live, And Fauci, he knew about it. We funded them $1.4 million to produce this shit or whatever, funding them bastards in China, Wuhan. Yes, sir, we did. That's crazy.
Batshit crazy. Absolute batshit crazy. And yeah, the guy's like, hey, we don't want to relitigate this thing. It's like, bro, it's never been litigated. He's never been held accountable for not only the lies to Congress, but the actions he did, going back even to the AIDS thing. I pulled up that video. Like, he's been wrong every step of his career. It's batshit crazy.
Yes, sir. And he's been making profit off this shit. It's bullshit. Nobody's to make profit off of somebody dying. Millions of people died in the whole fucking world. It's total bullshit. You're right, sir.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Wasn't he invested in one of the pharmaceuticals that were actually being advertised as a treatment for COVID?
Yeah. He made some crazy money, like $90 million, something stupid like that. It's bullshit. Total bullshit.
That's
I heard that today. He made about $90 million. Yeah, no kidding.
Well,
it's insane, dude.
Time to take it from him.
Oh, I hope they do. I hope they lock his fucking dumbass up.
I agree, 100%. Anything else you want to add there, Steve-O?
Steve-O Marino, thank you, Bruce McGinnis. He's having family problems right now, but he'd be on here. He told me he'd be on tomorrow night, brother.
All right,
Thank you very much for letting me talk. I'll talk to you tomorrow or later on tonight.
All right,
thank you.
So thanks for calling, brother. All right, we got another back-to-back call. Everybody's most hated Canadian or loved, depending on who you are. We got Canadian Joe. What's up, Joe? What's on your mind?
I'm sure about 4 people in every chat like me, maybe. I just haven't seen any evidence towards anything. Either way, I mean, if Fauci is guilty, string him up. I'm all for that. But I just don't see anything. Hello?
I'm here. You're live. Well, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I just don't see any evidence. If there's something in this diary, I haven't seen it, and I haven't looked at it either. But
so wait. Let's stop there. So you're saying there isn't evidence in the diary, but you haven't looked at it. So how do you know there isn't evidence? Because
I haven't looked at it.
But so you know what he was doing in the diary. So he was saying one thing to the public, and he was saying another thing in emails and in his diary. He was playing both sides. And if you go back to
Okay.
AIDS, he was lying, he was full of shit. And not only that, he lied to Congress the first time around with Rand Paul. He said that we were not funding gain-of-function research with the Wuhan Institute. That came out to be an absolute lie. And that's why he hasn't been held accountable, because the auto pen pardon. He got the auto pen pardon, so he can't be prosecuted. I hope they
Is there
challenge
proof that he funded Gang of Function? Is its signature anywhere on the paperwork? Anything?
Well, he lied. So what happened is he lied about our country funding gain of function research through his department, when he very well knew. And there's emails and all this stuff that show that he very well knew, and he was playing a word salad trying to call it other things, when really at the end of the day he knew what he was doing. And that's why he was pardoned. I mean, why else was he pardoned? He was pardoned, a blanket pardon. But there was also reasons why he was pardoned between time zones, right? There's time frames. And I would go as far as to say there's probably other things we're not aware of. That's why it's such a large time frame that he was pardoned. Maybe there's other things that we're not aware of, but I'm not going to speculate. But what we do know are the things in which he lied about to Congress. He lied many instances.
If he's guilty of what everybody here says he is, if there's evidence, I know you can't do anything with them, but ceremonially charge him, put the evidence out there, show him for what he is, do that.
Well, the evidence is already out there. The evidence is already out there. It's just, why is he not being persecuted? Well, I just told you why. He has a pardon. He's been pardoned. You can't, in America, we have this thing called double jeopardy. You can't be persecuted for something in which, especially a pardon kind of falls under that, right? We can't go after him.
Well, he hasn't been charged with anything.
It doesn't matter. He has a pardon. We can't go after him because he has a pardon.
You can charge him on the state level, right?
Well, that's different. I'm sure you could. That's different. But I'm talking federal charges. But yeah, I'm sure a state could get involved.
We all want to grab somebody and say, you fucking did it.
Oh, we know
I agree
he did
with
it.
that.
We know he did it.
Well, the people that did it in China, the people in that lab, the people that worked in that lab, people knew about that lab, people that walked past that lab, people who once saw that lab in a picture were probably all put in another place or eliminated, knowing China's tactics towards anything. So we're never going to get anybody that was involved.
You do know that's exactly what happened, right? You know the gal that exposed the virus.
And we can't go after
China. She came up
China.
missing right after.
Well, there was the doctor that leaked the genetic code of it.
And they're gone too.
Somebody in the States, and he got sent to a COVID-infested hospital and got infected and died, a week later or something.
Right.
That was his punishment.
He's no longer here. So yes, I agree. Their tactics are whatever they are. But at the end of the day, we can't do shit about China. Well, we can do something about China on a different front,
it's money.
But we can't persecute.
It's money. It's not even war or anything like that. China spends a lot of money with the U.S., spends a lot of money with Canada, spends a lot of money with Europe. We get a lot of stuff from them, and we like that money, and we like those cheap smartphones. So we're not going to go after them. But they are
I know you Canadians are very much, fine with being submitted in the Chinese culture.
I hate what they do to the Uyghur population. I hate
what do you think they're going to do to you and your population when they take control?
Why are they going to take control of Canada?
They already have taken control of pretty much your economy.
Well, they had
and everything.
you guys 10, 15 years ago. If it's in terms of debt and money, if you think we're taking over, then yeah.
No, the Canadians aren't taking over. The Chinese are taking over your industry. Anyways, Joe, let me get a couple more calls in. You're definitely welcome to call back in after.
Yeah, I'm getting to be a pain in the ass. And Kamala, I'm giving her stomach pain, I think, every time I call.
You're everybody's pain in the ass, Joe, but sometimes that's
I know, but I'm honest, and there's not a lot of honesty sometimes.
All right, well, call back in later.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Member Peters, members of the committee, I served at the NIH for over 54 years, 38 of those as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
All right, we
Yes,
got
sir, bro.
Steve-O back here. He wants to comment on what Mr. Canadian Joe was saying. Go ahead, Steve-O.
Canadian Joe, buddy. I know some facts that you don't know. You know China built 25 fucking military islands stretching to the fucking Philippines. And my brother, Bruce McGinnis in Australia, just got alerts the other night. Me and him was FaceTiming. And they said it's an alert. You know what it was? It was fucking alert for China fucking getting ready to invade fucking Australia, brother. You better wake up, look around the fucking world. This man here can call me. I'll tell him my source. I will not give it to nobody else but this guy on the phone. He called my phone back, and I'll give him the source. He can see the fucking islands where China's fucking built. I'm telling you, this guy is crazy. China's coming for us, boys. You guys better fucking wake up. World War III will start in fucking 2030. That's my people telling me this shit, boys. You guys better wake the fuck up and learn. China's not our fucking friends. Russia's not our friend. Nobody's our fucking friends. Trump's getting out of the UN because he knows Russia is never going to march on fucking Europe. Our soldiers are basically out of fucking Europe. You guys realize that? This guy better wake up in Canada, where the fuck he's from, boys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, China is not fucking around either. China is not playing, guys. They are not playing.
I'm telling you, they built 25 military islands. I'll tell you the source, brother, if you want it. You can call me back, I'll give it to you. Other than that, I'm not giving anybody else a source.
Well, I'll get at you after the stream.
Yes, sir. No problem. I'm telling you, the guy's wrong in Canada. China's coming for us in a few years. It's going to be bad, boys. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, it's getting bad right now. It can only get worse from here.
I'm telling you, Bruce McGinnis told me for every 3,000 Aussies there's 900 Chinese people in Australia, and the people are freaking out going to that big concert venue thing by the ocean. The tourists are saying, "What the fuck is going on? All these Chinese people here." It's real, boys. You guys better wake up. They're on the march.
In Australia, they just gave them a big ass port too. Keep that in mind.
Well, they had alerts that China might invade them the other night. Me and him FaceTime. No shit, brother.
Jeez.
It's real. China's on the move. I'm serious.
I would not. Australia is strategic as hell, and they already have the port there for the it's just a layup from there.
You're right, sir. We're both right. I don't think Bruce is lying to me. You know, I heard the alert right on his phone. He called his brother right with me. And his brother and everybody said, yeah, it's a real alert from the government over there. Like we get a tornado here morning right when I live in Ohio. They put it, on everybody's fucking phone or a child missing or something, Yeah. Same way in Australia, but it was an alert from the government.
Jesus.
I'm sorry, I'm cussing,
That
boys.
shit crazy.
Yes, sir. But yeah, get a hold of me. I'll give you the information on Guy's channel. You can look it up. I'm serious about those islands they built.
Yeah, I'll get at you after the stream, Steve-O. Always appreciate it.
Yes, sir. No problem. Have a good night, sir.
We'll chat again.
Over that period, I proved
That shit
that I
crazy
believe
what's
in
going on with
and
China,
respect
guys.
The value of legitimate
That shit
congressional
crazy.
oversight. In fact, I testified before and/or briefed Senate and House Senate and House committees well over 200
Absolutely crazy
times
things going on with China.
over those 38 years. During and after the COVID pandemic, I have appeared multiple times for hearings in the Senate.
Over
and the
100
House,
times.
usually under oath, and sat for several days-long transcribed sworn interviews, answering questions about the very issues that are now the subject of this hearing. However, given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole
And he has to
reason
read this line
he's
for line
calling
for
me
whatever the
before
deep
this
state
committee
told him to say, right?
is to
Because we
get
know
me
what's
to say
really going on.
something, anything
We know what's going on
that
here,
could
guys.
vindicate his repeated
We know what's
public
going on,
pledges
Fauci.
that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress,
That shit
under
crazy.
the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
We will now begin a round of questioning. Dr. Fauci, your testimony today is compelled.
All right,
Okay.
we got Art here live. What's going on, Art?
All right. Did Unfiltered, good to see you. I want to just start off by saying thank you for taking my call. Now, did you see the line of questioning from Ashley Moody?
Ashley Moody, no.
Okay. So Ashley Moody came in a little towards the end, and she was hammering down on China in the Wuhan lab with Mr. Fauci buying and selling aborted baby body parts to the Wuhan lab to continue the research for CRISPR. So not just utilizing the bacteria out of bat poop, you know, this was also going towards CRISPR research, in particular the Cas9 research. And what Cas9 inside of CRISPR is doing is their idea is to attack specific genomes in the liver to reverse aging and to extend your life. Kind of like what we think the satanic baby eaters are doing, right?
Right.
But if China is buying aborted baby body parts, like I've been yelling at the top of my lungs for years about it, because I've known they've been doing this, you have to understand that leads into the whole dive into the Epstein files, because my dive in the Epstein files kept predominantly coming back to Epstein being involved with this lead scientist inside of CRISPR. So that opens your eyes. There's a black market. If aborted baby body parts are bringing in profit to be sold to China, then it would only behoove Jeffrey to have a farm where he could sell live babies. And that's where we get into more of those humanitarian violations, not just the 15 million people that frickin' Fauci killed, but now you're talking about all the undocumented babies that were born to be sold for research purposes. The world would be on fire if they understood that there's an entire market to buy and sell babies, you know, dead or alive. Am I off here? Am I too much in the conspiracy zone?
No, I'm hearing you. So, I mean, we already know that Epstein was involved in, you know, trying to breed and do all this crazy shit, right? And he was connected with people that did like seances and demonic rituals with blood and semen and all this crazy shit. So, I mean, no, I mean, anything at this point related to that guy, and certainly Fauci and China especially, is not far-fetched. I mean, at all. It just isn't.
Exactly. So the way that I see it is Fauci is kind of a low manager level at a retail store, and his sales associate was Jeffrey Epstein, and what they were selling were babies. Because there is a market in China for human baby parts to be utilized in genetic researching. You can, Ashley Moody spelled it out real good. They called whenever they would get in specific baby body parts, they would call it a BLTL. And I haven't quite put together exactly what that means, but they were sewing they were taking the mice that had the humanoid genes altered in them, and they were putting, a nose, a finger, or whatever in order to clone it. And see, this goes back to when I was talking to you about them cloning the camels in Saudi Arabia.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying that's towards the end of this hearing, right?
Yeah, that was today. Actually, Moody, for me, stole the show because with that line of questioning,
I gotta say, I haven't watched any of this. I'm literally like, this is what first time I'm watching it. So I don't even know what the hell you're even talking about. I have not watched it.
Fast forward to Ashley Moody, and you're going to hear things you never knew were scientifically possible. Not trying to tell you how to run your show, but I woke up early just so I could watch the whole thing. And it was all kind of the same song and dance. He's pleading the fifth. And I told you yesterday in the chat, I said he's going to plead the fifth because pleading the fifth is going to be a lesser charge than being held accountable for all the charges he's actually facing.
Yeah, I figured he was going to plead the fifth and do the whole thing. I'm curious, did you pay attention to anybody in the background? I always pay attention to the things people are doing. So the what's her name, Laura Ingraham. There's a gal to her right. I don't know if you caught it or been watching that gal, but her eyes have I don't know, they're like alien, like batshit alien. So I mean, who the hell knows at this point what's going on? I could see everything you're saying to be true. I mean, China's involved, and keep in mind our own country's involved with also using baby fetuses for research. We have certain lines. There's a 1970s line, a 1980s line that's liver enzymes, I believe, that they keep reproducing for research and vaccines and other things. So we use aborted babies for other things. It's just in our country, we're a little more limited. So the idea that Planned Parenthood and all these other places are off selling it in an international market, and we'll call that maybe not the black market, but the legit market, I would say, because there's such a demand for it, and they're making, remember the gal, I want to get a Lamborghini gal? I would imagine there's black markets, just like you have with any industry. Look at the legal cannabis industry. There's a black market industry. Look at every market. There's always going to be a black market industry that's making probably more than the actual legal market because it skirts the regulations, the oversight, and all that stuff. So I don't think that's far-fetched at all. I really don't. And especially dealing with China. I mean, anything's possible with these guys.
I will leave you with this, and then I'll leave you alone. There's a guy, Chuck Swindell Jr. You got to make sure you put in the junior whenever you do your research on him. But he breaks it down to the biblical status, to when they were talking about how some of the ancient biblical figures lived to 900, 600 years old. There's actually a genetic sequence inside the human genome where there are genetic markers for whenever genes are tampered with. And we see those same genetic markers with current CASPR research. But you can tell, even in CASPR's title, one of the big things is giving your youth back and extending your life. They're going after that biblical time to when humans lived to almost 1,000 years old. And exactly what you're saying, when you get into their website, they do this by attacking the liver genetically. Well, I appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah, interesting stuff, man. I mean, I'm definitely going to be listening when she comes on, but thanks for calling, bro. As always, appreciate it. Let's do it again.
All right, later.
Later. Absolutely great caller. I like when Art calls in. He's always got the good stuff,
and
information stuff I'm not even aware of. I got to write it down, and look at it, look it up later. Thank you, Art. Appreciate the call.
Idea to create viruses.
But yeah, he's talking about the CRISPR. The CRISPR is definitely China's at the forefront of gene editing.
What if you
living forever kind of thing, which probably won't happen. Who knows? Maybe it will.
To be infectious to
and they're saying, oh, well, it's for cancer. It's for this or that. Well, I'm kind of the opinion we already have the cure for cancer and all that good stuff. It's just kind of being withheld because, like the military-industrial complex, you have the medical-industrial complex, right? They make money off cancer treatment, not off finding a cure. Let me answer this real quick.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
One of the arguments that you and others have made against this virus coming from the lab is it couldn't have come from the viruses that have been published. And nobody's really arguing that. I think from the very beginning, people acknowledged that the viruses that have been published are too far evolutionarily distant from a virus that could have become COVID-19. But what has never been acknowledged by the side who tries to call the other side a conspiracy theory, which is really something you don't usually see in a scientific debate. This is the first time I've ever seen an article printed in Lancet by your friends who called this a conspiracy theory. You know, these are the kind of things you see as a screed on a political, website. You don't really see this in science.
There we go. What's up, Ed? How we doing, Ed?
They released this as
Thought I saw Ed.
conspiracy
Am I going
theory.
crazy? I thought I saw Ed.
We're wondering that when you do this, when you combine these viruses and are able to grow them in humanized cells, whether or not this kind of risky research, whether you call it gain of function or not, whether you use the
whether you
definition of
call
gain
it
of
something
function,
else,
whether this
Fauci.
kind of research should have had more scrutiny. I think in your House testimony, you testified that you never traveled to China and that you were unaware that anybody at NIH ever examined the labs, that you trusted the Chinese scientists. I think you said that even recently, that with your discretion, you trusted the Chinese scientists. The problem is that even in our country, we trust our scientists. They're good American scientists, probably doing the right thing for America.
Not anymore,
At the
guys.
same time, we oversight to make sure it's not dangerous research, but we also investigate the lab. I believe Fort Detrick was one
called
of our main
oversight.
labs was
We don't do
closed
that
down in the
anymore.
last year or two because of
That's why there's a
Research
black market
Institute,
for the
a research
baby parts and
incident
stuff like
that
Art was talking
dangerous
about.
with dangerous pathogens. And so the American people would want to know, how could you approve this dangerous research in China, say that you trusted the Chinese scientists, and then in the end, you had to admit that you'd never been there, and none of your inspectors had ever been there. Dr. Fauci, had any of the labs where this dangerous research was occurring, were any American lab oversight or lab
don't forget to hit
investigators,
the
did they
like
ever
button,
appear in
guys.
these
Right.
labs to
Ed
make sure that they were
always
safe
has to
labs?
remind me. And we are streaming on X, Rumble, Kick,
On the advice of
and
counsel, I respectfully
YouTube, obviously,
decline
right?
to answer
Appreciate if you give me a
based upon
follow
my
on
rights
Rumble. We
under
did
the
hit
Fifth
the
Amendment
goal
to the
to get access to the content creator program
one of
there,
the
so
main
I'm
theories
setting
for
everything up.
those
We're going
who
to do
looked
some
at,
exclusive
this being
content
created in
on
the lab
Rumble
was
very
the idea
soon.
that, could have come
It's gonna be
from a
awesome.
virus
So yeah,
not
give me a
being
follow on
previously
Rumble,
published. Dr.
and
Fauci,
don't
are
forget
you
to hit
aware that
the like
Dr.
button
Shi,
somewhere around
who worked for the
here,
Wuhan
right?
Institute of Virology,
Appreciate it.
was said to, and I think in her own words, to have over 100 viruses that had not been previously published that could have been a close enough relative to create COVID-19. Are you aware of that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline
Gosh.
to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Under your testimony previously, when you denied ever having funded gain of function in China, it was so adamant as to be striking, to leave no room for any interpretation of what is or isn't gain of function research. But there's another important
Crazy.
question. Did you fund gain of function research in other biolabs around the world?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Which means yes.
The one
It means
research
yes.
project that we do know you did fund is the one that Ron Fauci did. And it's important to talk about because
Means
this sort
yes.
of was the beginning of the debate over gain of function. This wasn't just me. I wasn't even aware of the debate
Yes.
10 years ago. This is
the
other
Fifi
scientists, over
Lacombe.
200 scientists at the
Or the
Cambridge Working
fifth,
Group
fifth,
signed a
fifth, fifth,
protest
fifth.
because
Yes,
they didn't think that
nonstop.
you should fund the
What
research.
up, twin?
and they
I
didn't
thought
think
I
it should even be
seen
funded,
your name. Am I
published
tripping?
because it was sort of a roadmap as to how to make
What
a
up?
bioweapon. So what they did was the avian flu, and this is important. It may be the most
It's his right
important
to
question we
use
get
the
to
fifth.
today.
Well,
The
I
avian
will
flu is about
actually tell you
50%
guys a
mortality
little
for humans.
secret about the
good
Fifth
news, though,
Amendment.
about animal viruses is they
So
don't
if
infect
there's
humans
no
very well.
threat
It
of
will infect humans,
persecution
but doesn't go human to
or
human very well.
criminality by your testimony,
Fauci,
you
with
can
the
actually
money
be
that you
compelled.
provided to
I
him,
disagree with it,
did an experiment
but
where
in
he
civil
caused
matters,
purposeful
you could be
mutations
compelled to
to create
speak
a new
if
virus,
there's
an
no
avian
threat of
flu that,
persecution for things
didn't
in
just
which you
infect
say.
birds well,
So
but actually
being that
infected
he
mammals,
is
well,
pardoned,
ferret to
and I
ferret
would
in an
assume they
aerosolized
might do a
manner.
contempt of Congress
People
charge
saw
based
this
off
and
this
were
premise.
aghast,
Being that he's been
at the
pardoned,
decision-making
there's no
process
threat
that
of
you
criminal
decided to fund this.
liability.
But this is when,
Therefore,
the
therefore,
debate came
invoking the
about, and
Fifth
you wrote in
Amendment does not
support of this in
apply.
the Washington Post, and you said,
He's being
even if a
subpoenaed to make
scientist is bitten,
testimony.
even if a pandemic should occur, the knowledge
We'll see
is
if that
worth the
happens, though.
risks. Do you still stand
Yeah,
by
right,
that? Would you like to qualify at all whether or not the
and me.
knowledge of gain of
Yes, the
function
audio is
worth
better.
the
Everything
risks,
seems to be
particularly in this
better
case,
there.
Since we now know 15 million people died worldwide.
It's crazy.
Many people believe this came from the lab. Do you think that the risks really are worth the benefits for gain of function research?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
All right.
Again.
We're going to finish with this question, and it's based really on that statement, that general statement and your support for gain of function, the idea that the benefits outweigh the risks. So there are many other people who disagree.
Obstruction of an investigation to plead the Fifth after getting a pardon.
It's probably one of the most
It could be
esteemed.
obstruction, but it could be also a
He
lot of
is
things. It could
scientist
be a
at
lot of other
Stanford.
things.
He, I think, has classified clearance.
Especially
He's
if
been
there's
a
no
consultant
threat of
to our
criminal
government
persecution.
Probably for a decade or more. And he's written about this publicly. He says the opposite. He said that the risks of this research do not outweigh the benefits. He said the risks, we shouldn't do it. Richard E. Bright, who's been involved in this debate for 2 decades, says the same thing. Says we really shouldn't be doing this at all. There's a quote also by, the Kevin Esfelt quote, is that at the very end? Kevin Esfelt, who's a CRISPR scientist at MIT, also
Yeah, the CRISPR thing, guys, is a whole
about
separate
this
topic that
function.
we
I
could spend
implore
a
every
whole lot of
scientist,
time on.
funder,
In one of my
and
master's
nation working in
programs
the
that
field,
I
please
took,
stop. No more trying to discover
there
or
was a
make
focus on the
pandemic-capable
CRISPR and
viruses.
what's related
No
to
more
the future of
experiments likely to
war,
disseminate blueprints for
related to
plagues.
military warfare, we'll just say.
Dr.
In
Fauci, would you like to
simple
at least
terms,
answer this
it's
one
considered
question for us
dual-use
today
technology
and let
because
us
the
know whether or
Chinese
not
are actually
you've
using
changed
it to
your
create what
mind
they're calling
on whether or not
superhumans.
the benefits of gain of
Enhanced
function research
humans.
outweigh the
Or
risks.
that's what they're using it for. So when you say, "Oh,
On the advice
live
of
forever"
counsel,
thing,
I respectfully decline to answer based
China?
on my rights under the
that's
Fifth
not what they're
Amendment to
using
the
it for. They're
Constitution.
making superhumans as we speak. Enhanced humans.
The chairman has denied your assertion of privilege and directed you to answer, but you nonetheless refuse and stand on privilege despite the existence of the pardon. The committee will have to consider after this hearing what appropriate action should be taken against you for the failure to testify after being directed to do so. It's against the law to obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today. Senator Peters.
Thank God. They need to actually follow through with it, guys. They need to actually follow through with
You're
this
not
shit when they say it.
recognized. You're
Because
not
it's theatrics
recognized.
when they don't.
If you are unruly, you will be removed from the proceeding. You are not recognized, and you are not recognized, sir. Sir, you are not recognized. You are not recognized. Security, we'll hold off. But you will respect these proceedings. You were told not to sit at the table. You insist on sitting at the table, and we told you you would not be recognized. You are not invited here for testimony, sir. You are being disruptive. Would you behave this way in a courtroom? No, because the judge would put you in jail. I can't do that today, but I can have you escorted from the premises. So I would say, sir, sit quietly and don't say another word. I said, sit quietly. You are not recognized.
Pull
Another
out the
word, you're
whip.
gone.
And why the fuck is this guy even sitting at the table?
Chairman,
I
I'd like to
watched
hear,
many
what the
congressional
chairman has
hearings.
to say.
Never do
He
the
is not
lawyers sit
recognized
at
by
the
committee
table
or the
unless
chair.
they
If
are
he speaks
asked to
again,
go there.
he
They
will
sit in
be
the back
removed from the
row
room. This
and give advice
testimony
and consent
is from
or
Anthony Fauci.
counsel
This is not a game with his lawyers.
over their
He can
shoulder into the
advise,
air,
his
not
lawyers can
fucking
give him
sitting next to
advice.
him.
He's got a half dozen here. They're all allowed to talk to him.
Yes.
All right? But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table,
And
he's
and
not
he's still off
obeying
the
that
table.
recommendation. There's a row
Time
behind
to
you,
go.
sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered. For a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered?
No, they're pushing the envelope so they could file briefs and, oh, he was denied his rights.
Security, please remove him
to
from the
counsel.
room.
That weasel-looking bastard. And their eyes are that close together, you know you got to check his hard drives. Theatrics, guys. Theatrics. Pure theatrics. It's all about the look, yeah.
Dr. Fauci
exactly.
will still have
pure
the advice
fucking
of the other
theatrics,
half a
guys.
dozen attorneys that he brought along today. Senator Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolute batshit.
The COVID-19 pandemic is not the first or the last public health crisis to impact our nation. In December 2022,
here we go again, guys.
I released a report that identified significant.
It's not the first, it's not the last. Let's get you mind control to get ready for the next one.
Initial response to COVID-19. This report contained 17 key findings. It's a very large report.
I'm going to share my Rumble account in the chat, guys. If you're on Rumble, give me a follow there. I'd appreciate it. We're going to be doing some exclusive content there. Not only that, if you don't have Rumble, I advise you to sign up for an account. It's obviously free, nothing, no harm, no foul. I will be doing exclusive stuff there at some point very, very soon. We'll just say, hope you don't miss out on it. But if you don't have an account, sign up. It's like YouTube, but even better.
Multiple administrations, including the current Trump administration, have failed to fund or to reform our health preparedness. This is something that I would hope the committee in the future would investigate. It needs to be taken a look at.
The only sound argument I ever heard of wearing the mask, and it's scientifically proven that it works for this, is people don't see your facial expressions. You don't have to laugh at them or smile, right? That's the only time. That's what masks are good for, guys. Nothing else, Joe. Nothing else, Joe.
At the highest they've been in 35 years. More children.
Remind them they could cuss here, yes. And on Rumble, you could do almost just about any bad shit thing crazy. Yes, remind them. This is Joe. I'm going to pin it. I'm going to pin what he says on the Joe Hammy in Rumble. Remind them they can cuss here on Rumble. He's talking about. That is very true.
Screwworm threatening our food security.
I mean, that one too. Use of foul language is encouraged on Rumble, as he says. That is true. That too is true.
Investigating and holding hearings on. Since January 2025, the Trump administration has taken a number of actions to drastically weaken our ability to fight infectious diseases and biological threats that endanger Americans. These actions are both incomprehensible and are also inexcusable.
Yeah, and Florida came out the best, right? They didn't really even lock down. It's just like, well,
contracts for cutting-edge
look what happened.
Technology. Shutting agencies responsible for
and also,
infectious diseases
you could do a simple experiment at home right now. Take an oximeter, put it on your finger. You should have an oxygen saturation from a normal person at least, unless you're COPD. You should have an oxygen saturation of about 97, 96 to 99 or 100. If you have 100, well, you're very athletic. But your oxygen saturation be in the high 90s. We'll say 99, right? Put on a mask, an N95 mask, breathe in it for about 2 minutes, and I want you to put that oximeter back on your finger, and it's going to be in the high to mid 80s. And guess what? Oxygen is required. Anything over, below, I think, 91, and it's absolutely required in the 80s. So they were
20 different committees
stopping oxygen from going to your brain, and that had a lot to do with, I think, the crazy shit people were doing as well during the pandemic, because everybody's wearing fucking double masks, triple masks. Like, I remember it being so batshit crazy. It's like, wow, all these people walking around with low oxygen saturation, their brain is not functioning at 100%. And these are people that probably their brain weren't functioning to begin with.
actions that
add
completely
fucking
undermine
masks to it,
the credibility
add
of
the
this
shots to
investigation.
it,
I will
add the fucking social awkwardness of them being weird to it, the 6 feet rule.
that we have concern with and where we were shut out.
Without objection.
We'll provide other details.
There were
as
people
well.
that were infatuated with that 6 foot rule. Remember, you went everywhere and there's like
today's hearing,
tape on the
unfortunately,
ground, and they're
does
like,
no
oh,
damage. It's
6 feet.
Attempting to turn one person into the scapegoat for a crisis that hundreds.
I don't know.
of
Everywhere I
officials
went, I said, I'm not
across
putting on a
Trump
fucking mask.
and
I
the
got
Biden
asthma.
Administration.
I got
were
asthma.
responsible for handling. And it does so in a way that people that are facing death threats. This is only going to unfortunately deter other scientific experts from public service. To understand that this is
injected
what they would have to go through as they provide
too.
their advice to us. We're not going to make our nation safer, and I hope that we can restore by doing these kinds of activities. And I hope that we can restore.
Yes,
our
bleach goes on the inside,
bipartisan
cleans
oversight
the
that's gonna help
body.
strengthen our public health
You know what's funny is that
preparedness
quote
and other homeland
gets
priorities.
taken out of context.
That's what this
It
committee
talks
needs to focus
context.
on.
If you listen to what he
Hasn't
actually
the last
said,
year and a
he was
half.
talking about like
Let's
UV
hope it
light
does
on
in the
and
future.
bleach, how bleach is a disinfectant. He wasn't saying use bleach. He was saying something like bleach. Like bleach has this effect,
Dr. Fauci,
or UV
I
light
hope
has
the
this
American
effect.
people
We could find something
listen very
like
carefully
that
to
as a
Chairman Powell's
parallel,
opening
you know,
statement.
an idea to get rid of
I think it's a stunning
COVID in the
indictment
body, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah,
of
and the
the
Democrats, oh
actions
yeah,
we've
just
taken
inject
been so
bleach,
destructive.
and then they're
global
like,
health. I
the
certainly
media was like,
understand
yeah, there's been
why
a
you needed
10,000
a
fold
pardon.
increase in people calling the what is
I
it,
certainly
poison
understand
control,
why,
right?
on the advice of
It's like, yeah,
counsel,
because
you're
that
not
proves something,
answering
right? That people are
questions
calling in,
because
right?
I think it'd be almost impossible for you to answer the questions truthfully
Without going to prison.
without really demonstrating what you did, your culpability, self-incriminating.
I don't see how it's
We have
self-incriminating on some of
all
these topics
prepared a
because
lot.
he was
I've been
allegedly
deluged
pardoned, unless his counsel is like, hey,
questions.
your pardon's not 100%
That's
kosher.
Dr.
So yeah,
Anthony
then I
Fauci.
could see that argument, and
There
it would
are
be
so
valid to
many
make a Fifth Amendment
legitimate
claim.
questions that deserve
But if there's
answers, and
no
now you're not willing to
threat of
provide those
persecution
answers.
based off your testimony,
So with my limited
the
time,
Fifth Amendment doesn't
I'm going
apply.
to
Even though I disagree with it, I don't think you can
talk
have
about things
compelled
that my
speech and be
investigation
forced to speak.
revealed
That's a
that
different
have not been
amendment or a different
adequately
right
answered,
we
quite
have.
honestly, haven't been adequately
The Fifth
covered
Amendment doesn't apply, though.
by the legacy media. I'll kind of combine the questions into kind of one, but you know, I certainly let's put up the last COVID chart. I was warned pretty early on about the dangers of the experimental gene therapy.
Yes, that's exactly the
call
best way to
vaccine,
put
but
it.
it's really
Gene therapy.
falls under the definition of gene therapy. So I was going to ask you, I mean, were you carefully monitoring the safety surveillance systems like VAERS and VSafe that literally were deluged?
It's not just Portland, Kamala.
With
People are
complaints?
wearing masks everywhere. I was driving down the street a couple days ago. Guy
Worldwide,
all by himself.
been almost
It was
1.7
literally
million
just me
adverse
on
events
the
reported
only
to
me
the
driving on the highway
VAERS system.
or the
Of
sideway,
those, over
and
39,000
guy
were
walking down the street with a
deaths.
mask on by himself.
And of those deaths, 24% occur on the
Where?
day of vaccination within 1 or 2 days. 24%, which, by the way, just happens to be the same percentage that a Rasmussen poll pointed out. The American public believe 24% of the American public believe they know somebody who died of the
So there's a
experimental gene
combo,
therapy.
a therapeutic combo for COVID.
So again,
Ivermectin?
I was certainly interested in
Throw out the
asking you whether or
protocol
not
exactly as to
were
what you
following
take.
this as
I have it
carefully
written
as I
down
was.
somewhere.
It's not my
It's
responsibility to
ivermectin,
follow
Z-Pack, and then this
safety
steroid.
surveillance
It's
systems, but I did. when I
hydrocortisone or
published
some
this-
shit like that.
this is actual
3 different pills you take.
Government information.
Those 3
when I published
pills,
it and
the hydro,
had me
whatever
on
the
the
hell it
show,
is, I forgot what it
they
is.
would be
It
censored
gets
by
rid of the
Facebook. They'd be
inflammation in the lungs.
deplatformed.
The Z-Pack's kind of
I think
along the
largely
same
at the
lines.
behest of the actions you took to make sure that
And then
disinformation
ivermectin,
wasn't
which
spread. This wasn't
is actually
disinformation.
a
This
Japanese
was the
researcher
truth.
found it within dirt.
So I
Found
was
it
gonna
in
ask you
dirt.
whether you knew Dr. Marks. I think you
Very
do know
cheap
him.
to
He's
me.
the head of CBRN.
And then
He's
the
man
price of
who's
it
in
went
charge
through the
of
roof because of the demand. And there was
putting
pharmacies
vaccines
at
and
the
surveillance
time
for the safety.
that refused
My
to fill ivermectin
investigation
prescriptions.
shows that on March 1st,
Absolutely
2021, less than 3 months
refused.
after the emergency use authorizations, he was warned
Thank you,
by
Darla,
Dr.
for the
Anna
gold
Scharsman,
coin. Appreciate that.
data mining
Actually, I gotta
expert, that
set
the
this
algorithm they were
goal.
using to
It's been
analyze
popping up on this
VAERS
other
data
screen
was
like
gonna hide
crazy.
in-
If I don't set it, it just
and mass
harasses
safety
the
signals.
shit out of me.
26 days later and 3 months consecutively after that, they did data runs with a new algorithm that unmasked those safety signals. They showed dozens of safety signals, including sudden cardiac death, cerebral artery occlusion, basal ganglia stroke, agonal rhythm, Bell's palsy.
Bell's palsy was a very common one directly after the vaccine. It's where part of your body just droopy face, you know, and just go like no
pulmonary infarction, and I think probably
insane guys. How many? And what's weird about it is there was people that would get it and then recover. It was like Bell's palsy like symptoms. I mean, a lot of people didn't, obviously, but there was people would get the Bell's palsy, and it would like be temporary, all the symptoms, everything, and they would just recover slowly but surely.
Was warned that the algorithm was going to hide the safety signals, and were you told that senior FDA officials were given shown dozens of safety signals associated with the COVID injection?
Yeah, remdesivir was not something anybody should have been taking.
Counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
No, good Lord, here we go.
Next area I want to go through is in that same month of March 2021.
There we go.
An employee at NIH, Dr. Nath, led a team of researchers who were diagnosing and treating individuals who'd never had COVID
for your age, you're very smart, man.
By the genetic therapy injections. Dr. Nath told those individuals, stay quiet. You know, we want to make sure that you know, we gather all the information and then release it to doctors so they can treat people like yourself.
Great idea, Fig Fart. Let me pull it up.
There was a concerted effort, and I'll enter this into the record. It appears inside NIH to quash Dr. Nass publishing that study. It finally was put on a pre-pen.
Keep that playing. Let me go to this. Let me pull something up. Fake Fart had a great idea. Let me pull this one up. All right. So remember this one where was it? Wasn't the Cleveland Institute, was it? The gal was like, I'm going to go on TV and we're going to take a vaccine live on TV. Watch this, guys. This happened very frequently. This was the most common adverse reaction to the vaccine. Pay attention. Pay attention, Joe. Pay attention, Joe.
It's really... I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy. I'm sorry.
Thank God for all the doctors in the house. This happened, probably the most number one thing when someone had a reaction. This was it right here. Passing out. Yeah, but yeah, it's safe and effective, right? It's just safe and effective. Let me go through a couple of these that I pulled up. Let me just go through a few of them, right? Just a few. We'll start with this one. Here we go. Remember this, Joe?
Vaccinated who are the problem. You are the unvaccinated. You are the problem. It is the unvaccinated who are the problem. Period. End of story.
It's not very common after getting the shot. That's not true at all.
The only people you can blame. This isn't shaming. This is the truth. Maybe they should be shamed.
Passing out is not normal after a vaccine.
To start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
Anyone you
not
came
the
into
regular
contact
folk.
with will blame
We the
you.
regular folk. Us folk with the shot.
We've done the right thing by getting vaccinated.
We the regular
because frankly,
folk.
we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
We can't trust the unvaccinated.
House in order, Anderson. It's the unvaccinated who are the threat.
All the vaccinated folks are going to start wearing masks to protect the unvaccinated folks. It's called a Christian value.
You're basically punishing the vaccinated for the sins of the unvaccinated.
People are not behaving honorably. The unvaccinated are basically saying, well, it's open season for me. I can do whatever I want as well.
The unvaccinated are basically beating their breasts and running around
And this
the country
guy was
saying,
batshit, if you remember
we don't
him.
care, we're living free and so forth.
We've been patient. but our patience is wearing thin.
Yeah, fig fart. Just because you know how to go look it up on the internet, it's not actually a vasovagal stenote. Yeah, that's not what it actually causes. You know what that's caused by is when you have a fight or flight response. I assume you have no medical history. I can already tell because you have no clue what you're talking about. That's a response from your brain that causes you to pass out. Usually people are scared of needles, stuff like that.
Different approach.
When the COVID, that was not what was going on. Period. Because what would follow fig farter was hives. They would get red bumps all over their skin, and they'd have to use a medical strength like a Benadryl to get rid of it. So no, it was not the same response, bro. Good job. At least I'm surprised you knew that word.
You're treading on our freedom and you're making other people sick, and really you're killing other people. The anti-vaxxers, they seem to have a thing for
and I have first-hand knowledge on this topic. I would just say that.
Anti-vaxxers are not just putting their own lives at risk. If that was the issue, we could just say that we can watch them compete to win place or show in the Darwin Awards.
We have to start doing things for the greater good of society.
No, fig fart,
not
no,
for
it wasn't.
idiots who think that they can do their own
Vasovagal,
research.
that was not vasovagal.
Don't get me started on the lunatics.
Not saying that
who
doesn't
won't take
happen
any of
after
the
a
COVID
shot.
Vaccines.
Life is too short to be
But
an
that's not what that was.
Life is way too short to be ignorant of the
Nice
promise
try,
of
Fig
something
Fart.
that is
Fig Fart knows
helping
everything.
people worldwide.
Maybe you're doing it because
remember the
you're
shit
disconnected or
day in,
disorganized. Maybe
day
you have some
out. They would do
sympathetic
that the
psychological
COVID
reasons. But
response
maybe you're just
daily
being
kind of
antisocial.
brief or whatever, hyped everybody up, and then the media would fucking scare everybody to death.
Those who are not vaccinated will end up paying the price.
The unvaccinated should be taxed. They should pay more for health care.
We need to start looking at the choice to remain unvaccinated the same
Oh, remember
as we
that
look
woman?
at driving
Where's
while
she at now?
We're going to see, and I've said, almost two types of America.
Well, we know where this crook
Dr.
is.
Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart
good
attack,
for you,
yes,
Big
come
Fart.
right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy.
Pointing back to
Rest in peace. I'm gonna play one more of these funny ass things, right? Oh, I'm not. I'll play that one later. This gal, she was fucking a legend. She got shut down. Where's the one I wanted to show real quick? Where did it go? Oh, right here. Right here. Right here. Remember the guy in California?
Uh-oh, he's screwed. No, it's not this guy. This
Guy in California?
He
He wanted to go out there all by himself.
Oh my god, look at this.
Baywatch showed up on his ass.
He cut him off. Throw the tax down. Pop the tires. Oh my god. Spray him with a hose.
Look at this shit, guys. That's how loony this shit got Joe. And Joe's like, who doesn't want to be locked down? And let me go back to this. Who doesn't want to be locked down? We love to be locked down. We love it. We want to submit, Joe.
By a food-borne parasite, and the outbreak is nowhere near under control. As staffing at the FDA,
hair implants is gender-affirming surgery. Oh,
by
good
Russell
Lord.
Vogt.
We tolerate some of the wildest shit here, guys.
Last year, the National
And
Institutes
what's funny
of
is I got to
Health
put every one of you through it.
200, I think it's 201 fewer grants compared to the previous years. 207, I am corrected. Compared to previous years. As those grants were either canceled or delays, especially at the beginning of the Trump administration, I can tell my colleagues what the impact was on people in New Hampshire, on scientists in New Hampshire.
Oh, good Lord.
on
Just looking
clinical
at her, you know
trials in
where
New
she's
Hampshire,
coming from.
Where people's cancer treatment was interrupted because Elon Musk and Russell Vogt know better, they say, than the people at NIH about what to fund. And because they did some sort of word search, it seems, for some of the grants, and boy, oh boy, if you were studying rural health in New
They were
Hampshire
foxing the
and trying to
henhouse. We can
understand
control the population.
how to better
dare you?
engage people
Keep it
who
up.
need health care in rural America, that was off the table. America is losing researchers and scientists to other countries because researchers and scientists, highly trained, highly qualified, invested in often by the American taxpayer, are finding the hostility from this administration
Joe is an asshat.
so strong that it
You
interferes
don't
with
say.
their science, and they want to pursue science wherever that science takes them.
Oh, yeah, wherever it takes them, right?
I also
Remember,
sit
Fauci
on the
said
Health Education, Labor, and
AIDS. You
Pensions
can
Committee.
catch it by proximity to
We have
someone.
had a number
Just
of
being near them,
hearings
fig fart.
with nominees
Remember he
recently
said that,
to
fig
fill
fart?
critical
What do you
spots.
say about that, fig fart?
One of those nominees is Dr. Erica Schwartz, a brilliant woman, medical degree, biomedical engineering degree. I think she also told us she has a law degree and a master's in public health. She was a 2-star admiral in the United States Navy, an experienced doctor. And yet,
85% of Americans got
when I
jabbed.
asked
Really?
her
That many fucking people? I don't
if
know the
she
number.
would push back
I don't know the
at
number.
Secretary Kennedy, if he instructed her to suspend the promotion of the flu vaccine as he did some point in the last few months, there's an email to prove it, she couldn't answer that question. She either could not, would not, or
They
had
shouldn't
been
have
bullied
provided him any
into
water. I agree.
evading a question about whether she, as the director of CDC, would stand up.
Yeah, I seen that too,
Secretary
Sharp.
Kennedy,
You know, the Ukraine
the
flag.
most unqualified Secretary of Health and Human Services
You know
this
she's
country
talking out
has
her
ever
ass.
seen, and more than unqualified, somebody who pursues conspiracy theories, degrades people with disabilities, and continues to promote disproved science.
Poster lady, yes.
That's the state
Idiot
of
poster
healthcare
lady.
and public health in this country right now, not to mention the $1 trillion or so of cuts to the Medicaid program that is decimating healthcare in
Oh,
my
there's a
state.
lot of people that
and
got the
decimating it
shot that
around
are
the
still
country,
here.
Not to mention the refusal
There's a lot of
my
people that
colleagues
did
and this
narcotic like
administration to
fentanyl and are still
extend
here, and other
critical
crazy
tax cuts for
drugs that
people who are
probably
trying
shouldn't be
to
put in your
afford
body still here.
insurance
But
on the Affordable Care Act. I just was at one of my
and they were
community health
also
clinics,
live
and they are reporting fewer and fewer
during
people coming
the
in for
rollout
care,
of the vaccines. They were mutating,
disrupting care,
not mutating, maybe that's a
because
bad
they
word,
can no longer
changing
afford
the
health
formula
insurance.
of the vaccine. If you
And that
remember
is impacting,
Pfizer,
of course, the
it
revenue
was
stream to
ramped
the
up so
community health
high,
clinic,
the
their ability to hire
whatever
and pay people,
whatever
their
it was
ability
in
to
there,
take
right? That
care
they had to
of their
reformulate
community.
it several times.
That's what I wish we
And they
were having
reformulated the
hearings
Janssen
about
several
in
times
this
because
committee
people were
and in
getting
the health
immediate
committee.
heart conditions
That's
were
what
showing
I
up.
wish we were trying to address in a bipartisan way. But instead, we are
Fentanyl,
here
yeah, fentanyl is actually a medicinal, or not a medicinal, but
in
it's
an
a
attempt to entrap
pharmaceutical
you
that's used usually in like an IV, right, for
because
serious
you
stuff.
had a
It
distinguished
has a utility.
career trying to put Americans' public health first. With that, I yield.
Senator Lankford.
About time. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Dr. Fauci, thanks for coming today. I know you're invoking your Fifth Amendment right, which you have the right to be.
Yeah, that's where we're heading, Art. That's what it's all about.
Be
Like
a
I
part
said,
of
the
this.
Chinese with the CRISPR,
There are a lot of issues and a lot of
they already
questions
have the
that come up,
superhumans.
and
They're already
hopefully
creating
someday
them.
in the future, we'll be able to get all this clarity to be able to pull together.
I
There
hear
were over 1
fig
million
fart.
Americans that died from COVID. You know that well. You were tracking the numbers literally every single day, those affected and those that died from the earliest days. There are a lot of lessons that we've got to learn from this, that we should put into history to be able to determine what happens in the future. How do we respond in the future? How do we deal with something like this?
Yeah, exactly, Ashley. It's
It was
a
uncharted
totally thing.
territory
It's not the
for everyone.
manufactured from
But I
China
would tell
shit that you get
countless
across the
families,
border.
including my own.
It's different. It's like comparing
Watched a loved one
heroin
die
to
behind
like
glass
some
or
type
through
of
a screen
opioid-based
because we couldn't get access to
pharmaceutical,
it.
right? It's totally
Children couldn't
different.
get to school.
I mean,
People missed their
similar,
prom or
different.
graduation ceremonies.
Different source.
There were lots of things that happened that dramatically changed the future.
Yeah,
of
the
the
shot,
country.
the batches were
Mental
different.
health
The
issues
lot
that
numbers,
we have
even
continued
between
to
lot
deal with
numbers,
from
were
the
different.
isolation
And there was
have been
times
profound.
in which
Even
whole
something
lot
as simple
numbers
as
are like,
children
hey,
that
these
wore
need to be
masks
disposed
or
of.
adults wearing masks
Do
for all
not
that
use these
time
lot numbers.
are slower in learning language.
And they had to be
now because they couldn't
whole
watch someone
batches of
whose
lot
lips
numbers were
moving, and
thrown
so
out.
they're slower in that. Amazingly enough, churches and places of worship were forced to be closed down. There were even churches that met where the pastor preached in the parking lot and the congregants all
Yeah,
met in
remember
their
that? They were
cars
fucking arrested. Churches
with
were
windows up,
not essential.
and police came
But
and
Gavin
scattered
Newsom's
them and
wineries
said,
were
"You can't be here."
able to stay open. Remember
The
that?
simple act of social distancing became an issue as everyone guessed
Absolute
what's the right
batshit.
distance to be away from someone else. Literacy rates have declined. All these things are results, not to mention the loss of lives and the health experiences that have been out there for many Americans. So there are legitimate questions. I wanted to be able to raise some of those, to be able to walk through some of this, because it has been very, very challenging.
Yeah, there's a lot of
As we've
opiatic
gone through
drugs.
some
There
of your
is a
notes
lot.
and your diary and other things that are out there, we're trying to be able to pull bits and pieces
Hell,
of
it's
things.
like
to be able to
comparing
learn
codeine to
lessons.
Tylenol 3,
On May the
right?
6th, 2020,
Tylenol 3 pills. A little
you
different.
wrote at that time, I had a conversation with Robert Redfield, as you know well, was then
Our
the
church
director of
turned
CDC,
into a titty bar?
about the
What
fact
the
that
hell?
greater than 1
Where the hell
million
is that?
children worldwide have
Bet
missed
you
their
continued going to
measles
church, right?
vaccination because
Just not
of the
on
shutdown.
Sunday.
You stated, "This is terrible and needs to be addressed, since on that basis alone, there would be far more excess deaths from measles among children than coronavirus deaths among children. I need to bring this up to the TF, the task force." Did you ever have an opportunity to bring up the potential of measles deaths among children and an infection rate going around the world from measles based on the fact that so many children would not get their measles vaccine because of the shutdown?
I'm sorry, Senator, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to
Here
the
he goes
Constitution.
again.
That is your right to do.
I don't think
One of
he
the big
gave
issues
any
really coming
testimony,
up is
right?
on the lab.
Fauci gives zero has he ever has he said
About
anything?
whether this came from a lab or whether this came
He
from
should have
nature.
just been like, put
There are
his
obvious
put your
issues and
two fingers
differences
up, Boy
between the
Scout
two
fingers
to be
up
able to
if
know
you're gonna
this.
plead the fifth.
You
Just
had a lot of conversation
made it a
with
lot
this.
quicker. Like
Scientists around the world were in.
I don't know why they have to
conversation
say
on
this whole spiel on the
There were
advice
different
of the
statements that
council.
you
My
even made in your private notes and your public notes
I'm
on
gonna
it.
plead the fifth.
In
It's
January
like, why don't you say I
26th
plead
of
the fifth?
2020, this is before we
Stop
had
talking.
even
Let's
our
move on.
first tragic death of coronavirus in the United States. You wrote, "It now appears using epi data that the genomic data, the first infection was in early December and was not connected to the market," which was the big rumor that was out there. It was this wet market in China. We know the market was not the source, it was the amplifier.
Right.
On January the 31st, you wrote about a phone call. You wrote, "The people on the phone felt the mutations around the furin cleavage site of the spike protein could not have occurred naturally, since it would require an evolutionary jump that they found nowhere in bat isolates. They bring up the possibility this could have been deliberately inserted and either accidentally released or deliberately released by a crazy person in the lab, the former being the most likely." February the 1st, same year, 2020. This is, again, still before our first death. There was not total agreement about the likelihood of deliberate insertion. Ron said he was sure that this could occur naturally, and we should not waste our time and divert our effort to pursue this. This is expected of him, since he was the original gain-of-function person with Yoshi. Also, Christian was withdrawn. The rest felt deliberate insertion was possible, and given the fact that Dr. Jingling Shi at the University of Wuhan has been working for years in gain-of-function in coronaviruses to allow adaptation of the spike protein to bind to the human ACE2 receptor, we could not let this go. That's a remarkable statement for February the 1st.
That's funny.
Of 2020.
Are you a lying piece of dog shit?
When there hadn't
Is
been the
everything
first
you
death
say
yet, but we
another
knew
piece of
something
dog
was
shit
moving.
lie?
You knew well
Our
that
church
something was moving.
cheaties
You identified
cured of
February the
COVID?
1st. Before any of
They
us
very
ever
well could have
heard
been. We don't know.
Wuhan
They
lab,
closed them
not
all
only
down.
the Wuhan lab in the conversation, but literally the scientist.
Oh yeah,
that you
yeah,
named in your
exactly,
own notes,
Bob.
the lead scientist that was there.
The Constitution
It's interesting to
actually
me on that.
is
And the
kind
questions
of
I was gonna
vague on
ask you was
the
just
pardon thing.
your background and knowledge.
But if
about
you
the
go to
Wuhan
Federalist
lab
Paper
and
74,
Dr. Shi
goes into
and
particulars
all the
about
details,
Hamilton,
I'm
his
aware
thinking
of
on the
where
pardon
you have
power.
been on trying to be able to plead your Fifth Amendment right,
And the
which is your
idea
right
was
to be able to do.
the
But also want to
crime
be able to find out some facts to be able to help us for
that
the
people
future on
committed,
this.
not
The
people. You
Lawrence
didn't say, "Hey,
Livermore
John
National
Blow, you get
Laboratory
this." You
in
know,
May
it's like a
of
handout,
2020
right? And it actually was
put
the
out
very
a
thing in which the
classified
Brits
document
did.
that has only been
You
recently
read the Declaration of
unclassified on this,
Independence. One of the
that had to
complaints
say that
related
we
to the
assess
abuse
all
of
the
pardon
necessary
power, right?
conditions for an
Allowing
accidental release
people
of
to commit
laboratory
crimes
modified
against the colonists
coronavirus,
without any
specifically a
harassment, right?
coronavirus adapted to recognize human cell receptors, were present at the Chinese Wuhan Institute of Virology in mid to late 2019. Now,
Yeah, and in the Federalist Paper 74, I believe it is, they even talk about the pardon power. The most important part of the pardon power was during times of insurrection or rebellion, to where the president can give pardon to crimes against the United States. That's why it says crimes against the United States, right? So that we could pardon them and just stop a rebellion by saying, hey, we'll give you amnesty. We're not going to persecute you. Just stop. That's what George Washington did in the Whiskey Rebellion. It's exactly what he did.
My question
to
to you
move
was going
on.
to be, did you have access? Because it's important for the future that people in your position
related to the auto pen, if you study the auto pen, so Jefferson was the first president to actually use the auto pen. It was called the polygraph.
To this data.
Not like what you think of the polygraph today is like the lie detector machine. But it used to be called the polygraph. It was a manual thing. You'd write with one pen and it would write on another. He said that he couldn't live without one. He had one at his estate and he had one in the White House that he used religiously to write.
Send our CDC
and
epidemiologists to China.
A lot of presidents used them up until maybe I think it was Obama. It had been challenged, or no, I'm sorry, it was Clinton's. One of his orders to a subordinate person got challenged. And what happened was they said as long as the president was making it clear of his intent, he could order, someone could order someone lower than him to affix his signature to something, even though he didn't personally do it. So that's kind of the president will say, this is an 05, I believe this, it's a Department of Justice legal counsel memorandum or some shit like that. Just going by memory, fucking fact check me if you want. That kind of spells it out. That yes, as long as the president's intent was XYZ, someone under anybody can affix the signature. But then that goes to Biden. Was he even aware or cognitive
that we resolve if we're going to
of the auto pen being used?
Cooperate with you, we've got to have certain things from you. If things go sideways, we've got to have access to all information.
Yeah, I agree, Kamala. I actually agree. I think a lot of it is theatrics.
The World Health Organization,
because at the end of the day,
bending them to
let's be real. What are the Republicans going to really do?
Putting out data that
We've
saw,
been through this before. Remember the first time he lied before he got pardoned?
Covering up what was going on, but you also noted we weren't able to get access
to all
this
fucking talk.
We've got to be able to figure this out for the future.
It's the midterms are coming, guys. Always keep that shit in mind.
Access to all information. If something goes sideways,
the Republicans do this shit the same thing the Democrats do. They do theatrics sometimes, and especially the rhinos. They like to do theatrics. So you're like, well, I was fighting for you. Remember when I brought Fauci to the hearing?
Of actually,
yeah, but what the fuck did you do?
There than many other labs around the world.
I want to see him held in contempt.
Dangerous research.
He pled the fifth, so every single time, right?
What advice could you give?
He hasn't even said anything, guys. He pled the fifth so many times that you could use, back to what I said before. The Fifth Amendment is to protect you against self-incrimination. If you've been pardoned and there's no threat of persecution, the application of the Fifth Amendment does not apply. Period. But then it also goes to, can you compel someone to speak? Which I disagree with. So it's a catch-22, right? Fifth Amendment doesn't apply, but he can be held in contempt.
Dark days of the coronavirus.
Oh, here we go. This is going to be batshit crazy. You know this guy's crazy. Kind of like that guy from Georgia. Islands.
Hospitals were
put troops on Guam over here, and islands going capsize. Remember that guy?
Into unprecedented triaging during the worst week of the pandemic, which happens to have been the last week of President Trump's first term. More than 25,000 Americans died of COVID-19. Easy to forget those dark days. But for the past 18 months, the Trump administration has been engaged in a campaign to rewrite this history. And today's proceeding, I fear, is part of that effort. One of the darkest days in our Senate's history. The Trump administration has launched a baseless set of smears against vaccines that help pull us out of that public health crisis. Vaccines that are undoubtedly President Trump's greatest accomplishment.
Gain of function, you know, I don't know if it's illegal there, but I know we have federal laws against funding it.
Lines of the pandemic.
It should be.
And
we use it. We do it for the obvious reason in the military parlance of combating potential adversary events. That's really what we do. A lot of this crazy research for
the researchers
in the event that our adversaries are doing this stuff when we're hit with a bioweapon. That's why we really do a lot of this stuff, guys.
In that playbook, sadly, tragically. Dr. Fauci, you've spent 5 decades in public service, including nearly 4 decades in leadership at the National Institutes of Health, helping to conquer COVID-19, but also HIV, swine flu, Zika, Ebola, and other epidemics with real-life results saving human lives. Put aside all the flowery rhetoric that we hear in the United States Senate. Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, this guy actually has. I mean, he makes the case for aliens.
In the
Senator
United
Blue
States
Balls
and throughout the world, and today
he's a creepy-looking bastard,
demeaning and degrading their life-saving service. Republicans are eager to rebrand.
Yeah, Warp Speed was a cash grab. I agree with that.
In order to distract from their own failure to protect Americans from soaring healthcare costs, they've been rising astronomically in the last couple of years.
Your own ego.
Let's get past it. He's in a showboat.
To begin, I'd like
Florida.
to talk about your relationship with David Morenz. He was the senior
Stolen Valor
advisor in the
Blumenthal.
NIAID, Office of the Director, your office for 16 years. He was your friend. He was a frequent guest at your house. You reportedly co-authored over 50 scientific articles with him. You turned to him first.
I mean, basically, might as well divide it up between the Republicans and the Democrats and only watch one side versus the other. If you're lefty, someone would actually, that'd be a great idea for someone to take all the clips of all the lefties when they speak on any committee, all the right-wingers that speak on a committee, and just have a film of just them speaking.
Now, you've publicly...
Because the Democrats don't do anything but showboat.
Dr. Morenz,
they don't ask questions. They don't say anything. They're just like, oh, this is a witch hunt.
So let's start with the use of personal Gmail accounts and Dave Moren's relationship with Peter
Just
Daszak.
another witch hunt.
Dave Morenz tells Peter Daszak, president of Equal Alliance, and you've got this in front of you. It's Exhibit 1. And it's already in the record as part of this. It says, quote, P.S. I forgot to say that there is no worry about FOIA. I can either send stuff to Tony on his private Gmail or hand it to him at work or as house. He is too smart to let colleagues send him
now
stuff
I see the
that
meat
could cause
wad.
trouble.
Meat wad,
Dr.
true
Fauci,
crime
did Dr.
in
Moren's
court.
relationship with Peter Daszak concern you?
Don't block anyone
Yes or
ever
no?
for any reason.
On the advice
They are
of
pretty
counsel, I
fucking crafty,
respectfully
though. They'll
decline to answer
delete
based
their
upon my
shit,
rights
post a
under the
comment,
Fifth
you can't
Amendment to the
delete it, and they'll
Constitution.
reply for that. I think it's
Did
fine.
Dave Morenz ever bring documents
Yeah, the
to your
meat
house?
wads are everywhere, as they say.
On the advice of counsel, I
We had one of them
respectfully
call
decline to
in.
answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Oh,
Did you
good
ever
Lord.
receive a text
Again.
about your work at NIAID to your personal cell phone?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did any text about your work at NIAID
Oh, really, Darla?
or to your personal
That
cell phone
doesn't
ever become
surprise
part of
me,
federal
though.
records?
Does
On
it
the advice of
surprise
counsel,
you?
I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the
Does
Constitution.
not surprise me
Did you
at
maintain
all.
a personal email account while serving as director?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did you ever receive work-related communications on that Gmail account from David Morenz?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did you preserve any work-related communications on that Gmail account from David Morenz?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did David Morenz ever
Why,
provide you with
does,
documents?
why did they
outside of
have to
those
say
two
the
ways
full
that
line?
would
Why did they say I plead
violate
the
NIH
fifth? The
policy
fifth.
for
The
FOIA
fifth.
compliance?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Now let's look at two other communications. You emailed Dave Morantz on January 26, 2020, quote,
I don't know
"It
if
is
he could have been
important that I speak with you tonight.
cuffed
Please
after
call
the
me at
hearing, but
home."
he could definitely
This
be
is the part of
persecuted.
Exhibit
But
2
yeah,
that
keep
you
in
have
mind,
front of you. This email
things
was
like
sent the
this
same
typically
day,
are seen as
exact same
political,
day you write in
so
an
the
internal
likelihood of
document,
it
quote,
being
"Now we know
prosecuted,
the market was
is
not
pretty
the
slim.
source,
That's
it
just the
was
reality.
amplifier," unquote.
And at the end of the day, this is a
Would
political
you call
function.
the origins of COVID-19 a substantive issue?
So I'm not entirely always
On the
for,
advice of counsel, I respectfully decline
arresting
to
someone
answer based
immediately,
upon
but in
my
his
rights
case,
under the
he
Fifth
has
Amendment to the
crimes
Constitution.
outside of what he's doing
Did you
here.
discuss COVID-19 origins with
And I
Dave
think we
Morantz
should
on this
compel him
phone-
to
on this
speak.
phone call?
Maybe take him to an island
On the
somewhere.
advice
Maybe
of
Guantanamo,
counsel,
I'm
I
thinking.
respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Maybe Guantanamo will
Now let's
make him
take a
speak.
closer look at the last time you testified before Congress. This is part of what you have in front of you is Exhibit 4, which is part of the record. In June 2024, you testified to Dr. Morantz, quote, "was not an advisor to me on institute policy or other substantive issues. Furthermore, his office is located in a different building from that of the NIAID director," unquote. Is that still your testimony today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment
Yeah,
to
but
the
he didn't get
Constitution.
arrested at the Congress.
So today under oath, your
it
testimony
was a,
remains
you
that
know,
Dr. Morantz was not an advisor to you on institute policy or substantive matters.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Now, I've got Exhibit 5, which you have in front of you.
ICE opening
On
new
October
facility
24,
in
2021,
Seattle.
David
Let's
Morantz texted
go.
to
You know
provide
where I'll
information
be.
about an advocate
Write
for the
that down.
controversial EcoHealth Alliance grant. You thank him and tell him that you will
Let's
check the
go,
information.
boys.
Would you agree that this shows an advisory
ICE
relationship between David
Seattle.
Morantz and yourself?
You know where I'll be hanging out,
On the
harassing
advice of
people,
counsel,
or
I
not harassing,
respectfully
invoking
decline
my
to
First
answer
Amendment rights,
based
guys.
upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment
Tacoma's
to the
far.
Constitution.
I went down
Do
there
you
a couple
agree that you
times,
two
just
were
too far. I was
discussing
gonna go down there
substantive
when DJ Dipshit was there, and a few other
On the
dipshits. I'm like,
advice
yeah,
of
fuck
counsel,
them.
I
They're not
respectfully
important.
decline to
I'll go to
answer
Seattle,
based
though.
upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
If documentary evidence establishes that Dr. Morantz advised you regarding EcoHealth Alliance, COVID origins, or grant policy, then your June 2024 testimony would have been inaccurate, correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Is there any document in your possession today that would contradict your prior congressional testimony?
Go to the next guy.
Member of the Select
Look at
Committee on
this guy.
Coronavirus Crisis
Check
under the
his
House of
hard drive.
Representatives.
I want to
When
get
I
to this
learned
guy.
about your
This I like.
background,
I like
38
fucking
years
this
as
guy
the
right here.
director
Let's
of
see.
the National-
Yes. See, I'm gonna skip to.
What day of the week is it today?
What day of the week is it?
On the advice of counsel,
Oh, Mike.
I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully
Whoa. Let me go
decline
back,
to
guys. Let me go back.
It says honesty.
Wait a
Senator
second.
Alling.
Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, nothing says honesty like taking the Fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel,
Get the
respectfully
fuck
decline
out
to
of
answer
here.
based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel,
Unbelievable.
I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights
This
under
is
the Fifth Amendment
unbelievable.
to the Constitution.
What color's the
This is a
carpet in
crime
front
what
of
he's
you?
doing.
On the advice of counsel,
Wow.
I respectfully decline
Holy
to answer based
shit.
upon my
Are you
rights under the Fifth
hearing this?
Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs, they know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people.
And contempt because he couldn't
But
even
I think
answer
I know
what
why
day
you're
it
doing
was.
It's because
or his tie
you don't
color.
want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible
Got
things.
him.
It's because during the pandemic you
Wow,
got
that's
rich,
a whopper.
didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money
to enrich
to
yourself.
apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes.
Prison time,
totaling
boys.
Over $1 million.
Prison time.
You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I
Prison.
respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad?
I've actually never seen anybody the whole hearing invoke the Fifth Amendment on every single fucking question. Every single
She was your
question.
personal assistant. And what were these individuals doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020 when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID? What were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf soliciting and gathering information.
Hillary
for a
didn't
cash
Hillary
award.
didn't
Let's
invoke
look
the
at it.
Fifth
We've got
Amendment
his
every
email
single
right
question.
here, right
She
over my
spoke.
shoulder. Volker says, I'm working
What
on this
difference
nomination
does
for the
it
Dan
make,
David Award
right?
for Fauci.
She at
We
least
need to
tossed
beef up
that
the
in
COVID
there.
part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded in new ways to COVID? He sends this to multiple federal employees. What was the Dan David Award? Do you remember, Doc?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It was a $900,000 cash award. $900,000 cash award. And he got
Holy
it
shit.
because he used federal employees to get it. And this wasn't the only award, was it, Dr. Fauci? In fact, you applied for and received at least 8 other federal cash prizes on federal time using federal employees and federal resources. Here they are over my shoulder.
Hitting it out of the park, guys.
Besides the Dan David Award, you've got the Partnership for Public Service. You've got the
Hitting it out
Adelson
of the
Prize.
park.
You've got the Smithsonian Award. You've got the National Academy of Medicine's Award. You've got the CDC Foundation. In fact, you turn your staff into a full-time application machine. You actually wrote to people and said, do you think maybe I'd qualify? And you got cash for all of this. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 employees, was it? In fact, you used 8 separate federal employees on federal time using federal resources to solicit cash awards. Isn't that true?
Wow. I did not know all that, guys.
Counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Here they are right over my shoulder. Here's all of them. The people that you use, federal employees, so that you could go and get cash money.
That is crazy.
And the most hilarious part is that you weren't content to even dragoon them into applying for all of these cash awards. You then had them go out to the ethics agencies and ethics watchdogs and demand that you be able to get the money. That's right. We've got it in your emails. Your staff and employees on federal time, using federal resources, being paid with federal dollars, are soliciting cash for you. And then they're turning around and saying to the agency, we don't want just an answer. We want to get to yes, because Fauci wants the money. He wants it. We want to get to yes, and yes takes time. This is your chief of staff again, using federal email to pressure the agency's own ethics people so that you could get money, so that you could get rich. And it violated the law, didn't it, Dr. Fauci? Didn't it? It violated the law, didn't it? It is a question. You
I
can
want
answer.
to see
Go
this
ahead.
guy
Advice of counsel,
found
I
guilty
respectfully decline to
and the
answer based
punishment
upon
of
my
firing
rights under
fucking
the Fifth
squad.
Amendment to the Constitution.
Federal law, as you very well know, prohibits the solicitation of cash awards or other personal benefits for federal employees. And it certainly prohibits using your own employees to do this. 5 CFR section 2635-205B. It says it right there in black and white. You cannot use federal resources, federal dollars, federal employees,
Crazy.
federal offices, federal email, federal time to solicit cash awards, and you did all of it. And the worst part is thousands of people were dying while you were doing it. You were supposed to be the nation's doctor, and you were playing one on TV, but this is what you were doing with your time. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see why. I can certainly see why.
I can certainly see
What
why.
I can't quite figure out is that why you were so obsessed with it, because you're already rich. I mean, and your scheme worked here. I mean, your net worth now is north of $12 million. You got over $1 million in cash awards during COVID, during a 12-month,
What's funny is all these questions that he's refusing to
you
answer,
knocked down in cash money,
in which he's invoking the Fifth Amendment,
more than $12
where there's no
million.
threat
You've got a pension
of
that in the
actual
first
any
year paid out
criminal
north of
persecution, like the color of the sky or and all that. Well, that's maybe bogus. He probably went on that front.
You're getting rich.
But
1 million
facts,
people dead. You're using federal
where he can't be
employees to
prosecuted.
get cash awards
Each
for
one
you.
of those
1 million people
instances
dead,
is a crime.
And you're here taking the fifth. Because you don't
Each
want to admit
one of those
that what
instances.
really happened in all that time was a
Would someone say
multi-year course
111
of
times?
self-dealing.
Did
Isn't
someone
that true,
actually
Dr.
count it 111? Holy shit.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It's crazy,
Yeah, well,
guys.
silence is admission. And here's the real thing.
Oh, let's go,
At the end
Darla.
of the day, it
Darla
wasn't just
gifted
about
a
the money,
membership.
really, was it? It was
Appreciate
really about
that.
a power
Gifted
trip.
one membership.
I mean, through all
Let's
of
see who
this,
got it.
you
Oh,
wanted to be
couldn't
the
have
most
been a
famous
better
scientist in the world.
person.
You were so focused on getting every award
Steve-O.
and every drop of cash that you
Welcome
could, all
to
because
the
you wanted to be
UNR
on TV.
Club
You
as
wanted
a
to be the sun
prospect.
god
We
of
welcome
science.
you.
You wanted to be
Appreciate
the
that,
guy
Darla,
who was
as
in
well.
charge of it
Darla
all. You
again.
wanted to blank
Darla
out
Swan
Trump. You wanted
with a
to make sure
membership.
that
I
nobody
appreciate
else
that,
stole your
Darla.
spotlight. You wanted to be the guy.
There we go.
You had time to sit for In Style magazine.
Appreciate that, Darla.
Here's what you were doing with your time. You could sit for In Style magazine, but you can't answer questions for the American people.
Under contempt
You could
now.
sit
Oh
for
yeah,
In
he
Style
he
magazine,
did it
but
the
you're
first time he
taking the
decided he
fifth.
was not
You
gonna,
could sit for In Style magazine and get $1 million
answer any
in cash
questions.
awards. But now the cat's got your tongue.
He said it
I bet he
111
does.
times.
I tell you what, here's my conclusion from all of this.
Maybe we should have been counting.
This was really all about you the whole time. Somewhere along the way, you lost your way.
Someone
You may have
needs
been a
to
good public
go
servant
and
at one
clip
time, I don't know.
every
But I can tell you
111
from reading
times
your
he said
emails
it
now,
and make
from
a
looking
string
what
of
you did,
videos
how you used your employees,
of just him saying
somewhere
it,
along the line, it
and
became
with a number
all
pop up.
about
1,
you.
ding,
You
2,
became a
ding,
narcissist
3,
and a
ding.
megalomaniac
That would be
and
a
a
great
liar.
video.
And you've lied
I'd
to the
watch
American
it.
people, and you've lied to this body. And you've disgraced your profession by doing it. You called yourself the most famous scientist in the world. You've done more to harm science than anybody in my lifetime.
Anybody in my
And I hope you'll go home and
lifetime,
write that in
boy.
your diary.
Damn right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci, I'm not here to perhaps attack you or defend or anything. It's really just more, honestly, I just want to acknowledge I have had members of my
What
family
the
die from
fuck?
COVID.
This sumbitch is in a
and,
suit?
I also grieve
You don't
for
look
people
right.
that I've met that have lost
The
their
hell is
business
going on,
during
boys?
the pandemic, and they'll never been the same.
The hell?
Now, as
Little too short on the
during
arm there,
pandemic, I was the
Fetterman.
lieutenant governor, so we were in the middle of all of that maelstrom, trying to find the right balance between protect life and protect the
What made him think to
economics
go start
for
wearing a
all of it.
suit?
And I'm not sure if we got it all
He
right.
needs to go get
or
a
wrong,
custom fitted one. I'll give him that. At least he
but
didn't.
Without a
Who
doubt, I
knows?
can continue to
Don't look like it
question
fits him.
myself. But one that it's not about much more your regrets, but I have one. And,
I mean, you
and
could take
that
him a
is
little more
early
serious. The boy
on
don't know how to fucking do a tie,
there
that's for
was
sure.
The theory that the
Probably had
virus
that
could have
goofball
emerged
behind
from
him
the
do
lab.
it, and that's his
And
aide.
Early on, that became
I mean, I'm
like
more
a
like Rand Paul. You see
right-wing
Rand Paul's aide?
kinds of
Yeah.
theory. And
This
I thought it seemed
Fetterman,
to
look
make
at his
sense. Now,
aide.
there was a really
Which you
advanced
choose
lab that
wisely.
was close by, and then
You
you,
know,
have this unknown
you're gonna be in Congress.
virus, out. So
You gonna choose the goofy
but that
forehead-looking
became a
sumbitch
very
or the blonde?
partisan thing. And now
I'm gonna choose the blonde.
it seems now it's more and more emerging theory that would have
Yeah,
come
Fetterman
from,
had a stroke.
from the lab.
Yes, very.
Now,
yes.
you know, I think that the next
He just
time
wants
our
the
nation's
truth?
facing
Fetterman,
something like
the
this,
truth?
we are not become, you know,
I
as
don't
I
know
might
about
have been,
Fetterman. I
blinded
don't
by
like
the
Fetterman
partisan
at all.
idea that maybe the truth might come from a side that's different than you are. But I think we should
he's kind
really
of the
be willing to
socialist
pursue truth,
flavor, you know,
no
the
matter
centrist
where
socialist.
that may have emerged, you know, for all of that.
I don't care for Fetterman
And
at
I
all.
now cede the remaining back to the
You
chair.
could never
Thank you.
convince me that Fetterman's a
Senator
good guy.
Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will echo Senator.
Once a
Duffy's
commie, always a
comments
commie.
about, your opening statement, Mr. Chairman. I think it was dead on. Very, very well done.
Nah, I ain't gonna give someone credit just for showing up for their fucking job. I don't promote mental health. Mental illness, I should say, not mental.
My rights under the Fifth Amendment.
Oh my God! Again, bro.
Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
What, he needs advice on this one?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment.
What did he need to tell him?
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel,
Oh
I
my good
respectfully
Lord.
decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I
Wow,
respectfully decline
guys.
to answer based upon
He's
my rights under the
fucking
Fifth
up right
Amendment
here,
to the
guys.
Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based
I
upon
don't
my
give a
rights
shit.
under the Fifth
I don't fucking
Amendment
like
to
the guy. I don't have to
Constitution.
like him because
Well,
he's
let me
trying to
tell
be
you the
neutral,
short
bro.
notice for the
I don't
audience
fucking like
because,
the guy.
He was ejected by the chairman. He's a high-profile criminal attorney.
I don't have any
He's
Democrat that I
represented,
like.
Some really great
None.
people, like Senator Bob Menendez. Maybe that's somebody who my Democrat colleagues
Especially
may remember,
Fetterman. I could pick a
took
lot better
gold
ones than him.
bars as bribes.
He's just
from the
another
Egyptians.
deranged ass idiot that got into
And
Congress.
There's an article here in the
We have
Washington
way
Free
too many
Beacon
deranged ass idiots in
that talks
Congress.
about
He's not very bright.
why you would hire a guy like Dervish Schertler, and the comment is,
I decline to
"You're a
what
deep shit."
yeah
That's who you
answer
call.
what the Fifth Amendment
feel like you're
says
a
under
deep
my
shit?
Fifth Amendment right. Yeah, exactly, because it's
On
incriminating.
the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Clearly,
Well, I mean, it's kind of
you
normal
think
to stand up during
today
the State of the
is that
Union. I'm not going to
somehow
fucking
you're
pat the guy on the
above
back.
reproach. Somehow
Kind of
you
what you're
feel
supposed to
like
do.
You
He's still a commie.
don't
I don't
need
like him.
to be treated like a
I
normal
don't care if other
American.
people like him. You just ain't going to convince me to like him. Period.
Can you do
He
me
can
a favor
fucking
in
improve.
the
He can do
audience
whatever
and
he
stand
wants.
up if
I don't fucking
during
like the guy.
the time of the COVID
He's not
pandemic,
even on the center.
you were
He's
called a
he's
racist
pretty leftist.
for calling the virus
Look at the shit he
Wuhan virus
supports.
or the China virus. If you thought the 6-foot rule was total
Look
crap,
at the shit he
if you thought
supports.
the vaccine wasn't something that you should take, if you thought it was outrageous the way the mask policy was rolled out, if you were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military, if you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these
plead the
times
fifth
saying these
again.
things made you somehow
What the hell is
a
Laura
lesser human
Ingram
being.
doing in there?
Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that?
I hate when they do shit like this. Like, stand
That's not a
if
question.
you.
It's not a question. To your
This
lawyer,
is
it's not a
kind of
question.
theatrics of
It's a
Congress.
request.
I don't like this kind of shit. I
All you
didn't
have to
even
do
hear
is
what he
look up
said, but
from
it's
your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them? That's a question. Are you able to look at them? You can sit down in the audience.
wanted an apology from Fauci.
There was a
Good
mom
luck.
in Ohio during the depth of the coronavirus pandemic decided to go to her high school football game for her son. They hadn't been out much. The kids had been learning at school, and then the school got shut down. They hadn't really gotten much out of that education. As any parent knew, that remote learning was no learning at all. But it was a Friday night.
Yeah, and all the
son
shit
wanted
that
to go
happened.
watch
It's crazy, guys.
a buddy go
Mental
play
health, kids,
football.
social
went
skills,
to the
everything.
stadium. They
Like
sat
kids
alone,
were very affected by
far
it.
from everybody else, just a mom, a dad.
Nearly a whole
kids.
high school time in high school,
They
right?
didn't feel they needed to wear masks
Or you're
because it was stupid.
several years locked down.
Because they were outside.
It seemed like
They all
forever.
live together. They're not near anybody. Dr. Fauci, do you know what happened to that mom and that family? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
They were dragged out of that stadium and arrested.
Jeez. Let's
Those
go. Cool,
policies
Chris.
were put
Moochie
in
dance
place
mask
because you
up.
had moronic
Yes.
politicians
Appreciate the super
that
chat with
listened
the $2
to the
from Cool
words
Chris.
of a
Yes, bunch of
megalomaniac
bullshit.
who
The
was more
Smoochie dance.
interested
That's funny.
in
This ain't the
having
Mr.
met
Bill show,
a
bro. I'm not
Kardashian
gonna do no dancing.
than the suffering
I
of
don't
the
even know what the hell
American
you're
people.
referring to there,
And
but
that
that's
is
funny.
you.
Thank you, bro.
Your
Appreciate it.
Advice to communities like that, to idiotic politicians who enforce those rules, arrested that mom for watching a football game with her own family.
Isn't that crazy?
Outside. When that story
Oh,
broke,
twerk is banned? What the
I
hell?
said to myself, I
The
cannot
zesty
stand
dance, huh?
idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided
One of the
gonna give up
rules
my
not talk
businesses,
about
sell them
people's
all,
kids all the,
run
I
for
don't
office,
who the
run
hell's
for the
talking
United
about
States
someone's kid?
Senate.
Is
Here
that
I
fake
am
fart
sitting in
again?
front of
I
you
don't even
6
read
years
his shit
later
half the
saying,
time.
who the fuck do you think you were for doing that?
Whoa.
It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters
Can we
of the
get a
United States of
ban?
America
Fake fart? Shut
watch
the
the
hell up, bro.
clips of every one
The
of
guy
you
needs
doting
attention.
on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will
We have rules of
make
chat.
it
No, the
my
pedophile
mission
thing's the only thing I don't
to make certain
tolerate.
that every single one of those
That's the only rule. No
Democrats
pedophiles.
who did that will
We're
see
pedophile
that
talk.
clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize,
to
the people
Plead
who
the
you
fifth.
harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the
I don't know.
dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my
Good
rights under the Fifth
Lord.
Amendment to the Constitution.
Good
So you won't
Lord.
apologize to the military members who Joe Biden summarily dismissed from the military for not taking the vaccine?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer
Yes,
based upon
more
my rights
travel
under the Fifth
possible
Amendment to the
via
Constitution.
Will you
the
apologize to the business owners that
relativity.
lost their
Exactly.
business,
Stephen Hawking. I was
shattered
trying to
their
tell you
lives,
guys that.
and they'll never recover?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the moms who had to force their infant children, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, to put masks on, and what that did and how that traumatized those kids?
Under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you
Good
apologize
Lord,
to the
again?
family members of the people who
Again?
died because they took your advice and not only got the first vaccine, but the 5, 6 other boosters that they did not need?
Again?
To answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to that mom from Ohio for being arrested for watching a football game with her family? So you didn't know who wrote the Fifth Amendment. It's James Madison. Lived in this town. I could only
Better
wonder
question
what
would be: does mercury
you would
cross the blood, the brain
somebody
barrier?
like you invoking
Better question for
his
you there.
writings
We got
to shield
someone trying to use
culpability
the grok to say
for the
vaccines are
actions
the
that you
greatest thing since sliced bread, guys.
It's
Nothing
no
wrong with
secret
that.
why you have to hire the biggest dirtbag attorney on the planet because of what you did. I hope you're paying him well. And I hope that one way or the other, somewhere, sometime, you answer for your crimes.
Senator Ernst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this important hearing today. Dr. Fauci, Americans haven't forgotten the tragic stories of people who lost loved ones during COVID and those that were denied
I'll be
a
honest with you
chance
guys.
to say goodbye.
I don't like this
to their
woman. I don't like
family
to listen to her
members
speech.
that
She
were
triggers me. I
in
just can't stand
hospitals or
the way she talks
residing in
sometimes.
nursing homes
I'm going to skip through
because
her
of the
because I know there's a
COVID-19
better
protocols.
testimony to come.
Here,
I don't think she
showing
said
from where
anything
I
too
sit.
fancy,
I just
right?
got here
She
last
never
year.
does.
Many of you may remember I was the Attorney General in Florida who fought back against the lockdowns, the school closures, the church closures, the
Mayflower.
everything to embrace
Don't
sanity and
climatics on
science. We
us.
fought
Don't
back.
use the AI to
We
make
got
your
ridiculed
arguments.
for it. And we didn't just call people
There we go,
names.
boys.
We actually impaneled a grand jury.
It just shows you don't know what the hell you're
people of
talking
all
about if you have to use
walks
AI.
of
I'm just
life,
saying.
all political persuasions.
Joe loves AI.
So that's how I came here. Fighting for a free state amongst states that have
Hey, it's so
locked their
boring,
own
but here you
people
are,
down.
Fig Fart. Welcome.
We are now called the Free State of Florida. And I believe our responsibility here
No, Grok is
to
definitely
make
racist.
sure that government remembers the people are our bosses. That we report to
Yeah,
them.
in
that we're
practicality, but in
accountable to them.
actuality, that's not true.
Government shouldn't operate for itself.
Let's be real.
Government operates on behalf of and for the American people. And anytime we get close to reporting back to our bosses about what government has done or how it's been abused or how individuals that are employed by the government had acted in their own self-interest or against the interests of the American people, every time we get close, if we start uncovering outrageous fraud, we'll have a hearing. And the tactics have been to not show up. So you'll have all of us over here trying to drill down on why we've been giving money that actually works against American citizens.
Leftist
and no
fear
one shows
mongering
up.
is just
Today
the
there's
ways.
well,
That's funny.
Nobody's here at the moment. Today there seems to be a different tactic. Today we have Democrats showing up and trying to spin why we shouldn't even be having this hearing to report back to our bosses. One said, today's hearing does damage. It will deter others from public service. Another said, this hearing is designed to entrap you. Another said, one fell all over himself, flattering you, thanking you for your service multiple times, quoting man in the arena. Another said that we are demeaning first
She's nervous.
responders.
You can hear it in her
Today is a
voice.
sad play in a repeated playbook. Or we're going after one man. I mean, all of their time was used on why we should not be having the hearing to report back to our bosses and give the people accountability. So I would like to talk about that because I believe that the trust the American people place in our public health institutions and what happened to that trust during COVID is important. Because in a public health emergency, they are asked to make extraordinary sacrifices based on advice given to them by the government that is supposed to be working for them. And for that system to work, the public has to be able to trust the people giving them instructions. That trust depends on candor. Would you agree with that, Dr. Fauci?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And when the evidence is uncertain, officials need to say so. When recommendations are based on assumptions rather than hard data, they need to say so. And when they get something wrong, they need to own it. And when the trust is lost and the consequences extend far beyond any single pandemic, the next time public health officials genuinely need Americans to listen, millions of people may simply ignore them or not believe them.
Have a great night, Joe. We'll see you next
Dr.
time,
Fauci,
Joe.
you were undeniably the face of the federal government's COVID
Fig Fart,
response. You
Mega
said so
loves to
yourself
ban.
in
You
your
have not
diary.
even been
You
banned
said
or
it's not
timed out ever
hyperbole
in
to
this
say I've
channel
become
one
the
time.
most
What are you
famous
talking
and
about?
talked about person in
We
the
let you
country.
rant on
So I
about
wanna
nonsense that
understand
nobody cares about.
how we got here.
That's why you keep coming
Let's
back.
start at the beginning. On March 8th, 2020, you appeared on 60 Minutes to discuss the spread of COVID-19. You were specifically asked to clear up the confusion and misinformation surrounding masks. You told the American people, right now, the United States people should not be walking around with a mask. The interviewer immediately stopped you and said, are you sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this. And instead of walking back or qualifying your statement in any way, you doubled down. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little better. It might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with their masks. They keep touching their face. Just a few weeks later, the CDC released its guidance recommending that Americans wear masks in public. You were asked to explain.
Yeah, Sharp, I have that actually pulled up. I'm going to play that once this ends.
You said,
once this ends, once this is over, I was actually going to play that. I watched the first 30 seconds or so. I'm like, fuck, I got to play this after this is over. Yes, I have not watched it, but we will watch it after this.
The critical issue driving your initial recommendation to the American public was scarcity, logistics, not medical evidence. So when you told the American people there was no reason to wear a mask, what was your principal objective? Giving them an honest assessment of the medical evidence or discouraging them from consuming a scarce supply of masks?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Holy shit.
Well, unfortunately, that was just the beginning of a broader pattern. Let's talk about the 6-foot distancing rule. In April 5th, 2020, interview on CBS said, every time I get to that podium in the White House briefing room, I always essentially plead with people. Please take a look at those very simple guidelines of physical separation, and they're very, very clear. Physically separate 6 feet away. Yet when Congress finally asked you in 2024 what science supported that evidence, 6-foot distance rule for COVID, you admitted you were not aware of any studies supporting it. Incredibly, you said the 6-foot rule sort of just appeared and described it as an empiric decision that wasn't based on data. That rule had real consequences. Schools didn't open back up.
Fauci.
Businesses didn't open back up. Churches didn't open back up. I could go on and on and on. And Americans were kept physically separated from one another during the most difficult moments of their lives. Many lost loved ones during that time. So, Dr. Fauci, did you have any evidence to support a 6-foot separation rule when you gave that advice to Americans?
I don't know if you could do that.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully
Scuba Steve, damn you. What up, bro? What's going down? Yeah, I've been trying to get an answer out of this guy the whole time, and all he said was the Fifth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Fifth Amendment. Dude is guilty of war. Yeah, crimes against humanity. Exactly. I'm chilling, brother. How are you? Absolutely batshit. Oh, we thought we were going to get an answer out of him.
First of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. But now we have your diary. And it tells a very different story from the one you told the public.
Nothing.
And I will quote, I spoke with Bill de Blasio, the mayor of NYC, and convinced him based on what I was saying publicly in my conversation tonight to close the NYC schools. He had already decided based on what I was saying. I went on to tell him he should close the bars and restaurants in NYC, and he said he would do this based on my recommendation. You even said that you told the president we should shut the whole country down.
Yes,
so Dr. Fauci,
he would like to do more than that.
People publicly that you didn't recommend locking anything down with your own diary entry kept on federal government equipment saying that your recommendation is what convinced the mayor and the president to lock things down.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth
and I had you on the big screen, Scuba, when you were in Seattle. I had you just up there.
That when in Florida, we were pleading with people.
You're just on the periphery of everything. I had you. It wasn't in your chat or anything, but I had you on the big screen, just watching it. On the TV, obviously can't.
That we were getting these conflicting statements by you that didn't match scientific data. And in fact, when we impaneled a grand jury, the grand jury's conclusion, not surprising to anyone, and by the way, we're still the only state
that's being friendly,
cool. A grand jury. I was the only attorney general to do this. We did this in 2023. That conclusion was the lockdown, mask, and social distancing advice ministered by federal agencies and implemented by certain local, state, and federal agencies was not based on the best available scientific data.
Yeah,
In fact, many
and the problem
recommendations and their
is,
accompanying mandates
a
departed
real problem is like,
significantly
what
from
is today?
available
I plead the
research.
fifth. What color is your
Again,
tie? I plead the
People
fifth.
from all walks of life,
Get the
all political persuasions.
Get out of here with that.
That is what they found.
Get
And
out.
yet,
Even
during
Hillary
that
at the
time, while you were
Benghazi
making those
hearings,
statements,
remember?
knowing there was no
What
scientific
difference
basis
does it
for
make, right? She
We
spoke.
know now you knew it because we have your diary entries. You called the
Got to
governor
get
that
the
I
watch
worked
hours in. Well,
with
I
to
did not even
to
know you
fight
had
to
a channel until the
Washington
other
and
day.
DC
To be
out of
honest
our
with you,
state,
bro. I
so
did
that
not
we
even
could
know.
indeed respect the rights
So
of our citizens.
I will start putting
You
your
called
thing
our
out
governor,
there. I
Governor
gotta go
DeSantis,
find it.
and
There
I'm
it
gonna
is.
quote
I just
this so I get it
subscribed
right
yesterday
out of
to you.
your
Or yeah, you
journals.
guys can
A
see how
total
yesterday.
jerk.
All right, guys, we got a mission
He is
right
a
here.
complete disgrace.
Scuba Steve
that he is
has a
blocking
YouTube. He
local
live
authorities
streams.
from
You know,
mandating
everybody knows
masks
Scuba
in
Steve.
various
Damn you.
locations, including
If you don't,
schools.
then damn you. His link is
You were
right there in the
very
chat. Go to
concerned
his
and
channel,
upset
hit
that we were
subscribe
actively,
to
and
his
I'm gonna quote,
channel,
criticizing
and I'll
and
start
we
putting
talk
in
to her
here.
virtually every day
Yes,
about being
go
wrong
subscribe
on
to
everything.
Scuba Steve. He puts in the work. He's a
And
badass
what is
patriot. I got the
astounding is that
opportunity to
you
meet him
wrote,
in
you
Portland
feared
when I was down there. Cool ass dude. Everybody knows him.
our government because we
Yeah,
were
check him
fighting
out.
back
Go to the
for the
link.
truth from our
Give him
government,
a
from
sub, guys. I don't know what he's at now. Let's see. He needs to get his watch hours up. He needs to get his subs up.
You feared
He
that our
needs
democracy is in dire
to
danger.
hit a 500. He's what, 48 away? I think.
Thank goodness
I don't
we
know.
have
Maybe we could
people
get
up
him to
here
500
that
tonight,
I work
guys.
with that understand
Maybe
our
let's at least give
which
it a
is to
try.
report to our bosses,
So,
the people,
hit
because
that link.
they are in charge.
Yeah, the watch hours come
Calling for
pretty
our government
fast.
to be
The
honest
subs are
with
the
us and
slower
transparent
rolling.
transparent
Hit
with
that
us
link,
and
guys, and
accountable
let
to
me know
us.
what number sub you are.
That is
Because
a
he's sitting at
democracy.
452 subs.
What you
I
did is the
think we
opposite.
have almost 90 people
And I
or
cannot
so
believe I have to
watching.
explain this to someone
That's only
who
about
represented
half
our
of you
government
guys
and some of
need
the
to
most
hit
important
sub
issues for so long.
on his channel.
before I
So I'm just
conclude,
going
if
to
I could
keep
just put
sharing
up our
that link and
pardon.
harassing you guys until someone,
This is the
somebody hits
pardon
that
you have
number.
heard
But
so
yeah, you
much
guys should
about.
subscribe.
And Dr. Fauci,
Check him out, fellow patriot,
the only other
badass
person
dude.
that got a pardon like this, I
We
believe,
already got a
had
couple
a last
people. So
name
I'll just keep
Biden.
sharing it throughout the rest of my stream
His
here,
pardon
guys,
goes
until
back to, and you'll see
hopefully
January the 1st of
we get him to
2014. Did you talk
close
to
to or
President
500.
Biden
We
and
should
ask
try to
for
hit
this
at
pardon?
500 for him. But yeah, check out the link. Sub to his
On the
channel.
advice of counsel,
Cool
I
ass dude,
respectfully
guys.
decline to
And he
answer
does a
based
lot of
upon
X
my
spaces
rights
too. He
under
does like the
Fifth
Bible
Amendment to the
study one.
Constitution.
I drop
Who did
in
you talk to in the White
anonymously
House
pretty
about this
often.
pardon?
Don't speak, just
advice
kind of
of
listen,
counsel, I
have it on the phone when I
respectfully decline
drive.
to answer based
So he
upon my
does
rights
that
under
as
the
well,
Fifth Amendment
guys.
to
He's
the
on X.
Constitution.
Did you specifically ask that it be dated back to the beginning of
That's good
2014?
videos and shorts.
On the advice of
Yeah, and he
counsel,
does
I
X
respectfully
to X
decline to
spaces,
answer
which
based
is
upon my
I don't
rights
know
under
how
the Fifth
often it is.
Amendment to the
Maybe he could say,
Constitution.
but he does like the Bible,
Did you do that
scuba
so that you'd
Bible
be
study
given
thing.
immunity
Pretty cool
going
stuff,
back to the
actually.
beginning of 2014?
Interesting stuff.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Again, bro?
I'm just very interested why it was this date. Did it
Again?
have anything to do with the
Good
fact that
Lord.
2014 was also the year that the
Good
NIAID,
Lord.
NIH began funding EcoHealth Alliance's Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence Grant?
Raw trolls on my channel. What a Mr.
On the advice
Mr.
of
Bill.
counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights
Speaking
under the
of
Fifth Amendment to the
the
Constitution.
Fifth Amendment,
And this is the
Mr.
same
Bill's
grant
in the
that funded
house,
the
you
work
guys.
on bat
Keep your mouth shut.
coronaviruses at the Wuhan
Stop talking
Institute
about him.
on virology. Millions of Americans are questioning what happened during COVID, why we were given misleading information, misleading advice.
Bam. Yeah, and
why
he
you
was
gave
when he was in
conflicting
Seattle. He
statements
streamed for 5 hours, guys.
based on, I
If
guess,
you
how
ever
we were feeling that
streamed
day.
on the ground for
And
5
Americans
hours, it's a hell of a lot of work.
Also for a
Whereas me
million
sitting on my
Americans
ass right here streaming for
should be
5 hours,
consulted
it's
when
not
the
even the same. You're
Democrats
walking, you're dealing with
insult
the
our chair that
phone,
He's doing
your
this because he's
your
on
heart's
an
like
obsessive mission to go after
90 to
one man.
100 at all
Could
times.
his obsessive mission be to find out why a million Americans died and who might be responsible for that and where that started? Could that be his mission, Dr. Fauci?
We're at 464. What did we start at? Damn, I should have wrote down.
Counsel,
Damn it.
I respectfully decline to answer
It was
based
like
upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the
452?
Constitution.
And after everything we have just walked through, can you sit here today
452 we
and tell the
started at.
American people, our
464. So 12
that you bear
people
no responsibility for their
subscribed.
collapse
Definitely
and
check them
trust
out. I'm
of
just
their
going to keep
government?
sharing the link here and there, guys. And reminding you guys to give them a follow.
Based upon my rights
Oh,
under the
my
Fifth
good
Amendment
Lord.
to the
Again,
Constitution.
Time
guys.
has expired.
Again.
We're going to do another quick round for those who
Again,
remain.
this bastard
About
just
5 minutes. Any
keeps at
questions
it.
that haven't
Keeps
come
at it,
up,
bro. Just
that
keeps
are
at
pressing,
it.
let's try not to
How does he keep at it?
go over
Like,
territory that's
I
already
want to
been
reach
done.
through
I'll
the
begin by
screen
asking
and
you
grab
now
by his
consent
little
to insert
turkey
into
neck and
record
just...
documents show that the CIA transferred
Haley,
funds to
what up,
NIAID
Haley?
through
Haley,
interagency
I always say
agreement.
Harley. There's Harley's
Hearing
Chaos
no
Report.
objection,
Haley
so
reports.
ordered.
What's up? How we doing?
We had hoped to hear testimony from
Another
Anthony Fauci
person you
today.
guys
We
should
haven't.
definitely follow.
But I think it's important that we do hear from him. So
Let
we
me
will
get
have a
both
video we'll play
these
in a
people's
moment.
links up real quick.
For
Actually, guys,
years,
both these
Anthony
channels.
Fauci has been the public
Haley's
face of saying this
Haley
and all likelihood
reports
came from nature.
did her
He kept
first
saying,
live
"It's the
stream very
marketplace, it's the
recently.
marketplace, it's
I
the
don't know if she
marketplace." He's been
streamed
saying that on television up
after,
until
but
recently.
she
But what we
too is
find
working
that what he was
on
saying in public is different than
the
what he was saying in
YouTube thing,
private.
getting her
In
channel up.
January, in private,
I know
he
we were
wrote
working on getting her
that
over
looks like the wet
50
market
or
was a super
100 the
spreader
other day.
event.
I
It
don't know
didn't
what it is.
originate
But I'm
there.
going to
We
share
know that
another
some of the
link,
earliest
another
deaths
cool
and
person.
sickness came from somewhere
And
else.
she holds
But
X
then for
spaces
years
all
and
the
years,
time.
we got dishonesty.
I was
So
in
let's
one
play the
earlier
video so we can
today.
see
It
a
was
little
pretty badass.
juxtaposition
I
of the
usually
problem
hop
we're
on
dealing
and
with.
listen anonymously, but it was a topic that I was fascinated with, so I was like, I gotta talk. Oh, what the hell's going on? Jeopardy or something? Looks like Jeopardy. But there's the link to Haley reports. Damn, tongue twister. Give her a follow too, guys. I don't know what the hell they're doing there.
Wet markets. So there are animals that come out of the wild that are sold at these open, what they call them, wet markets. Wet markets.
Scuba Steve. Let's see what he's doing. 464. And I gotta make actual things for both of you guys because I have it to where if someone types your name in, well, not for you guys, but like Mr. Bill, if someone types in Mr. Bill, it just automatically pops up his link, like to all his stuff. So I will make one for both Haley and for Scuba Steve.
Have been in the Wuhan market. They knew that those animals should not have been in the market, and they immediately cleaned out the market, put restrictions on the kinds of animals that come into these wet markets. I think I should shut down those things right away. I mean, it boggles my mind.
Terrible audio.
So
these guys are
repeatedly
doing.
saying in
And
public something different than what he believed in private.
Haley
This
may
is
or may
interesting
not
because
stream
the
somewhere
first
Friday, I
SARS
heard.
outbreak in 2003 was traced to a wet
You
market.
tell me,
Animals
Mr. Bill.
there.
Mr. Bill knows
Interestingly,
everything.
They had evidence. They had evidence that the animals
Mr.
had
Bill's
the
on to
disease.
something.
They also had evidence that the handlers had a disproportionately high number of antibodies to the disease. So there was evidence, and the evidence was presented. So when this came out, the same thing happened again. They did look at the wet market. They looked at the wet market and tested, I think, 80,000 animals and didn't find any animals that had COVID-19.
Zero animals,
When they
guys.
did find COVID-19 and trace samples there, they found
Zero
that
animals
the DNA
with
or the
COVID-19,
RNA was
guys.
consistent with human spread. This was known not later on, didn't take years to develop, was known in January of 2020.
Zero
And so
animals
Dr. Fauci says privately he knows it's
at the wet
it didn't
market.
come
When
from
they
the
say
wet
wet
market,
market,
but
they're
as you
talking
saw,
about
those
live,
over a
like dead
multi-year
animals
period.
that are being sold, right? Like
One of the other discussions I've had
hanging
with Dr.
meat
Fauci
and
over the years
fish
about
and
natural immunity.
shit they have in
So,
China, frogs,
most
whatever,
infections you get a
right?
degree of immunity, not perfect, some fairly perfect. Smallpox you just don't get again. George Washington knew this. He had his wife get vaccinated, but he didn't because he'd already had smallpox. But there's one particular story that a man came up to me who'd lost his wife to COVID. He said, we all got it. We all got sick, and my wife ended up getting sick enough to go to the hospital. But we'd recovered 2 weeks. She was still alive. 2 to 3 weeks later, we'd all recovered.
How long
and they
will it
wouldn't
be
let us
before
with her.
Fauci
And
will
to
be?
this
Oh,
day, it's one
if
of
he
the
hasn't done it
saddest
already,
things. And it
Shark.
just, I
He's
think
he's
all of us should think
probably
about
already
this.
doing an
They were
interview
not
right
allowed to
now,
visit their
right? Or
mom. He wasn't allowed to
pre-recorded
visit
one or
his wife in
something,
the
right?
hospital. But based on this misunderstanding of natural immunity, that for some reason,
Yeah,
2
Romans
weeks later, they were a
13.
problem. But this was all promulgated by you.
Give unto
We had
Caesar
the,
what is
workers
Caesar's, and
in
give unto
the,
God what is God's,
the meat
right?
factories. They were essential. They had to keep working. Most of them got COVID. They got it in the first couple of weeks. Most of them were younger. The reassurance should have come from public health. The reassurance should have said, congratulations, you've recovered. It also should be acknowledged. What's the number one thing we can do if we get another pandemic? Before we have a vaccine, before we have monoclonal antibodies, it would be to utilize natural immunity. So instead of the advice you were giving to Cuomo and others in New York,
Yeah, I forgot about that,
hundreds
guys.
of thousands of people or
Fucking
tens of
Cuomo.
thousands of people, you could have been saying, well, maybe the nurses taking care of the elderly should be people who are 2 weeks out from COVID infection. We could have used natural immunity as somewhat of a block of protection. Imperfect, but the only protection we had and the only thing we could have done. Instead, the nursing homes were seated with people who had COVID. So I think the discussion of natural immunity is one where there wasn't sufficient honesty, humility, there wasn't enough presentation to encourage people. That was the only encouraging thing we had for a while is you've got it. You're very, very, if not impossible, close to impossible chance that you'll die if you get it again. Everybody could have been reassured. Nobody was reassured. It's like, well, we don't know. We just don't quite understand natural immunity. My favorite quote from that is from Martin Kulldorff from Harvard. You called him one of the people that you had to take down, the fringe epidemiologist, which I've never ever heard a scientist call another scientist that. But he jokingly said on Twitter, he said, yeah, we knew about natural immunity from 486 BC, from the time of the Athenian plague.
486
we
BC.
lost all knowledge of it in 2020. The good news is it's slowly coming back. 24 to 2025, we're beginning to understand what natural immunity is again. Not something perfect, but a useful tool that could have been used, but also something that could have helped people by telling the public, my goodness, you're not going to die
Yeah, right,
now.
Darla?
You have a chance.
Hate
You've
when
already had it. You're
God
85
haters
years old,
try
you're
to
at risk
quote
for
the
it, you're wanting
Bible.
to feed your
Yeah,
wife,
and they
they're telling you to
quote
wear
it out
full
of
masks
co-
and
out
not be
of
around your wife
context,
when
right?
you've already had it. It made no sense. I visited with a man whose mom was 83 and she was dying from COVID. They go to the hospital in Orange County. They won't admit her to the hospital till she's vaccinated because we have a policy that
Absolutely
everybody in the
crazy.
hospital must be vaccinated. She's got COVID and they wanted to vaccinate her again. At one point in time, the CDC understood this. They told people, don't get vaccinated if you've had COVID within 3 months. Why? Because it may give you a heightened immune response when you've already got a heightened immune response. But giving a person very sick, and many of the people who died from COVID died from sort of this storm of response, this immune storm. The answer wouldn't be try to stir up their immune response more by giving them a vaccine. The answer was actually steroids, and good old-fashioned steroids, 37% reduction in death. It turned out to be way more valuable than remdesivir, way more valuable than any of the other treatments. But I don't remember ever hearing a complimentary word on natural immunity or steroids or anything else. And you know, I wish we could have done more today. I would have been willing to accept an apology today. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I made
we
mistakes.
all
We
would
all
have,
made
right?
mistakes.
Like
And,
to
you know,
have
at the
an
time,
apology,
I thought the gain
right?
of function research was, you know, the risks of it were worth the benefits. But I've reassessed since 15 million people died. People say, well, gosh, these things never happen. We know it happened in 1977. We know with 100% certainty a virus escaped. In 1977, there's something called the Russian flu. Nobody's exactly positive how it got out. But when they sequenced it, they found out that a flu in 1977 had exactly the same RNA as a 1954 one that they had in the lab and they had created a vaccine for. In fact, turns out anybody born before 1954 was immune, and the only people who got it were people who were born between 1954 and 1977.
Absolutely
but it was
crazy.
Identical. The genetic sequence was identical to this vaccine or the virus from 1954.
Key to what he's saying right there.
Respiratory viruses are always mutating. To be identical means it had to have leaked from the lab, proof positive that it had. So we know this happens. An author by the name of Young wrote a book and said there was 1,200 cases of significant accidents that have occurred. We knew all of this, and yet it was completely discounted because I think you were worried that if it was seen that you funded dangerous research that started the pandemic, you'd get blamed. And it was a concerted effort. It wasn't just you. Anybody associated with the funding decided we needed to protect ourselves. Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned that we lost knowledge of natural immunity. I didn't. Dr. Fauci did. I suppose I had an asymptomatic case of COVID because of the very faulty PCR test. I never got vaccinated or injected. There's no way I would have done that because I found out enough about the mRNA gene therapy. But you also brought up the issue of hospital protocols. I'm going to be holding a public event on hospital protocols. We've already received a couple hundred testimonies. They are heart-wrenching. They are heart-wrenching. Here's an excerpt from the testimony of a staff surgeon, very experienced, doctor for decades, at Providence Regional Medical Center, Everett, Washington. Quote, after our hospital was given remdesivir by the CDC, we were provided misleading/inaccurate information about the drug by our medical leadership. When I had a young trauma patient who was a perfect candidate for remdesivir, the infectious disease doctor on call told me to not give it to her because, quote, she seemed like a nice girl. He concludes it was known early the remdesivir kills. As I said, nurses referred to it as run, death is near. So again, I've always been, because it never made sense to me that we put all of our eggs in the experimental gene therapy.
What up, Rick?
If you knew anything about
How
it,
we doing, Rick? Sorry, I had to take a second to go make those commands real quick because I will forget, guys. I'm terrible at it. Even though I write things down, I take a lot of notes. Sometimes I don't go back and
those weren't particularly available.
read those notes.
They're denied an awful lot of patients.
Is Haley married? I believe she is. I believe she is, Steve.
NIH changed the endpoint from mortality, which had no impact on mortality, to days recovery. A drug that the WHO recommended against its use.
Oh, I didn't have her X
COVID
on there.
in
I'm going to
November
put
2020,
Steve-O's
but a drug
on there.
that
Or not
costs over
Steve-O.
$3,000
Scuba
for a course
Steve's
of
on there,
treatment
too.
versus things like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, who even Dr. Fauci, and I should have got that one out because I want to take this time to enter things in the record, said that, we need to have a very tight protocol on remdesivir because it's unknown, but hydroxychloroquine, that's approved, some side effects, but we have a long history of it. Let's put up my latest chart. Again, I was tracking adverse events on the experimental injection, but I use this chart as a comparison. So you've got ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. These are average, again, Avayers doesn't improve causation, but there's correlation. It's there for safety signals. So ivermectin, over 30 years of FDA reports, 17 deaths per year. Hydroxychloroquine, over 38 years of reporting, 142 deaths per year. Remdesivir, over 5.5 years, 546 deaths per year. The COVID injection, almost 7,000.
Perfect. There we go, guys. Sorry about that. I had to take care of that.
What did the FDA freak us out about ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, when they turned a complete blind's eye toward the injection's injury? So I want to enter the quote from the surgeon. By the way, here's the answer. Cheryl Atkinson in an interview said that when it comes to money, we check financial ties among experts on the government panel devising coronavirus treatment guidelines, which had the effect of dialing back
someone might have actually scared off Fig Fart.
11 members reporting
Good job,
to a drug
Scuba.
company, 9 of them named relationships to remdesivir's maker Gilead.
First person to be able to do it, guys.
Ties to Gilead
The
beyond
first
11 months,
person.
they have disclosed. 2 are on Gilead's.
All you had to say was, "Get behind me, Satan."
Research support in honoraria. By the way, within
It
the study,
works.
I think one of the study participants was an employee of Gilead. A bunch also had conflicts with Gilead. So, I wonder why. Their conflicts of interest. Gilead made billions of dollars off of remdesivir and people died. In terms of ignoring safety signals, you can probably put that down now. This has come to light. This is Dr. Drew Weissman, who got the Nobel Prize for the mRNA platform. He wrote to Dr. Fauci on February 8th of 2020. Tony, I wanted to alert you to some new data we generated with our mRNA LNP vaccine. Now, it was a higher fold dose, but that mRNA LNP go to the placenta and fetus, measured by translation of the mRNA and cause of immune response in the amniotic fluid. So that same day, Dr. Fauci responds, it'd be interesting to see what human dose levels given intermuscular do. So about a month later, Dr. Weissman replies, he said, we still have some concerns over the data after they tested it at IM. Now, again, there's more documentation in terms of the FDA blew it off. It's like, don't worry about that. That was the whole thing. That's what Peter Marks did when he was
Yeah,
shown that
in his
algorithm
journal
was gonna mass
entries,
safety signals.
I mean,
The
holy
last thing I want to enter in the
shit.
record here is,
Who would openly write such
and I want to make the point.
crazy
Why is this
shit? It's
important?
insane. It makes you think it's
They
not even
buried
real.
The treatment of severely injection injured. The fact that we haven't acknowledged these injection injuries, these people can't get treatment. They're being gaslit by their doctors. So it's all in your head.
Yeah, I
The
know,
rate of the
right? He
injection
yawned
injured
and crap.
of suicides
At
is
that age, a
increasing because
yawn
they've
is
given up
followed
hope.
by
Because our
something in the
medical
pants, for
establishment,
sure.
federal health agencies completely failed them, failing to acknowledge it. So again, Dr. Nath was diagnosing and treating injection injured in March of 2021. This concerned people. So you had Dr. Walter Koroshitz, writes Dr. Fauci. One of the points he made, there's been a steady, slow stream of reports to me of post-vaccination neurological conditions. Dr. Nath has been collecting
And
a
many
bunch.
other
He has
types of
reports sent
conditions,
out
not just.
to publish. Well, that alarmed everybody.
It's insane.
Boy, you can't let the public know what's actually happening. You can't actually let the public know what the science is showing. So on April 29th, a email from Francis Collins, head of NIH, to Dr. Koroshitz, says, I find this approach troubling and will have the main consequence of feeding vaccine hesitancy and social media overreaction. Then Dr. Lawrence Tabak writes to Francis Collins, I don't understand why Walter does not shut this thing down. Why don't you shut down Dr. Nath, who's actually treating injection injured? Why?
You don't
Because of
want to know
vaccine
why.
hesitancy. And because we haven't acknowledged that, and the reason I've been advocating for this is because I know the injection injured. I know people who lost loved ones within days of the injection. And we've turned our backs on them. They deserve acknowledgement. They deserve to be
Yeah, the
heard,
old saying,
seen,
one
believed
death
so they
is
can
a
get
tragedy. A million is
I also know
simply a
doctors whose careers were
statistic,
destroyed
right? That's where we're at
because
with
he
this
denigrated
COVID
things like
stuff.
ivermectin and denied ivermectin to people
And
in hospitals who
ivermectin
got their
was being
kidneys knocked out
denied.
by the
Like, at
remdesivir,
first, they were
got
filling the
put on
prescriptions,
ventilators,
and then
never
every
got to hug
pharmacy
their
was
loved
like a
ones goodbye.
countrywide thing. They refused to fill
That's what
ivermectin no
your
matter what.
science
There was
did to
not a
people. So,
shortage.
Dr. Fauci, my only question
Nothing.
is, based
I
on
remember
your
stockpiling
lack
it,
of
guys.
testimony here today,
Hell, I still have a bunch right now.
based quite honestly on our investigation into the cover-up of safety signals and injection injuries, we have issued letters to a number of former FDA officials to come in for transcribed interviews. You will be getting a letter today asking for a volunteer
Hell no, Sharp.
transcribed
He is
interview. So I'd be asking,
he's
will
rich.
you comply or will I have
Yeah,
to speak?
he's rich.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline
gosh,
to
here we
answer
go
based
again,
upon
guys.
my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Expect a subpoena. Thank you.
Senator Scott.
Dr. Fauci, did you personally receive any royalty payments connected to COVID-related intellectual property?
And this is
On
only
the
about
advice
10
of
more
counsel, I
minutes.
respectfully decline to answer based upon
Again.
my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Given that NIH receives royalty payments from certain pharmaceutical companies,
What I
why
should have
would
did is
any
set up a
American believe
super
these
chat
financial
goal for
ties
every time he
did not
pleads the
influence
fifth.
decisions about which
You have to
treatments were
super
promoted
chat
or
me or
restricted?
something. I'd be rich, guys.
On the advice of counsel,
Little did I
respectfully
know.
decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Why doesn't NIAID publicly disclose these payments?
On the advice of counsel, I
Good
respectfully decline
Lord.
to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did you partner with Bill Gates on global health initiatives or vaccines?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
How much did Bill Gates entities provide in funding to
There we go.
NIAID collectively since 2005?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
To your knowledge, did Bill Gates partner with China on sensitive research?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Specifically, dual-use research such as countermeasures or gain of function?
Yes, providing relief to the poor,
On the
the
advice of
widow,
counsel, I respectfully decline to answer
is
based upon my
definitely
rights under the Fifth Amendment to
providing
the
relief to
Constitution.
those people is definitely
You know if Bill
inherently
Gates
Christian.
entities partnered with U.S. government classified programs?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You know if Bill Gates maintains an active
Rick is
national
really
security
looking
clearance?
forward to that interview.
On the
No
advice of
update
counsel,
yet,
I
Rick.
respectfully decline
No
to answer
update,
based
Rick,
upon
on
my rights under
the
the
pink
Fifth
balloon
Amendment
loss.
to the Constitution.
Nothing yet.
Did you advocate a request for Bill Gates to receive a
It'll
security
happen.
clearance?
Trust me. It'll happen.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline
Eventually.
to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Do you have any knowledge that NIAID or NIH through HHS sponsored or requested a security clearance for Bill Gates?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Around 2010, my understanding is that the government shifted its approach to biodefense countermeasure research. Did NIAID, under your leadership, partner with the Obama White House or any other U.S. government classified entities on sensitive countermeasures research?
Yes,
On the
sir.
advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did your office take steps to drive biological research investments?
Back to the drinking
On the
game
advice of counsel, I
idea.
respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the
Yeah.
Constitution.
Be like,
What was
wait,
private
someone would be
industry's
on the
take on
floor
the type of
already.
research in the 2010 timeframe and before?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Was it considered too dangerous to
Good
conduct?
Lord.
And the industry was hesitant to take this on and invest in?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Why did you take steps to mature the government's approach to biodefense?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully
my
decline to
gosh.
answer based upon my rights
He
under
is
the
not
Fifth
joking
Amendment
with
to the
this Fifth
Constitution.
Amendment thing.
Were there any specific lines of effort or actions you felt were needed during this time to improve the research, development, and fielding model?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
He's got this
How was dual
down.
use and gain of function incorporated or accounted for in maturing biodefense countermeasures?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did you ever discuss moving gain of function countermeasures research out of government space to private industry space?
Yeah, he
On the
not
advice
only
of
sounds
counsel, I
guilty, he
respectfully
looks
decline to answer
guilty.
based upon my
Exactly.
rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, the woman took
How were these
off.
private organizations regulated
So,
through
yeah,
government oversight while
you're on
conducting
your own.
risky research, including gain of function or gene editing technology?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Did the Obama White House or any government entities take steps to inject funding into private industry?
Gosh.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully
Again.
decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
How do you ensure that our national security and public health is protected when private organizations work with foreign countries of concern and have the no government oversight, such as the Eco Health Alliance research grant you funded in a CCP military lab?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Given the culture of the pay to play at NIAID, did you or anyone acting on your behalf make any payment or enter any arrangement in any way or fashion to secure influence the broad pardon you received from President Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my
Again?
rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter from the Department of Energy that confirms during Anthony Fauci's tenure that Bill Gates was given Q security clearance from 2014
Q
to 2021.
level
without
security
objection. That will
clearance,
be entered
guys.
into the record.
If anybody
I'd also
knows what
ask,
that is.
Unanimous consent to enter into the record the contents of the folder of authorities
Q
provided
level.
to Dr. Fauci, including the pardon.
For a guy that works on viruses, what does it tell you? The things he was probably really working on.
Let us be clear today,
Shoe
what
level.
we've seen. I really did want to hear from Dr. Fauci. I wanted to hear perhaps an apology, perhaps some semblance of being sorry for what happened or that judgment errors were made. We didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, you need more tokens
But he
to
was
invoke the
subpoenaed here to
fifth.
testify, refused to
The
answer any
machine's
questions,
out of
even after
service.
being directed by the chair and being advised of the law requiring him to do so. He has cited a privilege that is unsupported because of his blanket
There we go,
pardon
guys.
and because he waived the privilege by testifying at the start. I'm going to give you one more opportunity.
This is
to
getting
comply-
into
comply with the
legalese. I
law,
could hear it.
Limited to the period of your pardon at any point between January
Have a great
1st,
night, Ed. We'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping in,
2014,
brother.
And January
Always appreciate it.
19th, 2025. Did you destroy any federal record or tell anyone else to?
He's got to put on the glasses and pull up the little script.
Under the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
given that you have a unlimited presidential pardon, what is your specific objection that you are making?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
My question was limited to the period of your pardon
quit
only. I
YouTube for
find
good
your
because of the
objection
trolls.
unsupported and
I
direct
have
you
no
to
clue.
answer the question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Because you refuse to answer, citing a privilege that is unsupported because of your pardon, and after being denied to do so, this committee has scheduled a vote next week on a resolution certifying your contempt. I think we have
Next
another
week,
question or
guys.
two from Senator Lang.
Next week.
Mr. Chairman, really,
We'll
this
see
is a
what comes
question
of
for
that, though.
you, and it's a question I'm trying to
Hopefully this
figure
is
out
not
how do we
theatrics.
get a good answer on this, because clearly Dr. Fauci's attorneys are saying that he has a Fifth Amendment right. We've also subpoenaed him to be able to compel his testimony to be able to be here. I happen to be in the committee. We were also dealing with Lois Lerner. Lois Lerner came and testified, gave an opening statement, and then took the Fifth Amendment. The committee then held her in contempt for that, saying you can't do both. You can't both testify and say I'm not going to answer questions. So the parliamentary question that I think we've got to be able to deal with is this consistent with Lois Lerner? What she also did when she came before Congress, gave an opening statement, testimony, so made a statement, and then refused to answer questions. Are we dealing with the same issue here where someone is you can't make a statement and say I'm not going to make statements at the same time?
I think it's a very good question. I think that's something all of us will examine over the next week. We're going to have a vote next week on contempt.
I hope that this is not just some virtual signaling farce.
Decide upon, and that is whether or not a presidential
I
pardon
hope something
that offers
actually
you
comes
complete
of it.
immunity, that you can still claim that you need protection from immunity when you've been protected. Because Dr. Fauci isn't liable for anything as long as he tells the truth, even if he admits that he destroyed records on a routine basis. His assistant said she destroyed a ton of emails. I think it was a routine thing. I think he destroyed throughout his career there are probably thousands of emails. Even if he did that, as long as he answered truthfully, yes, I did. I didn't think that was important. I made a mistake. He can't be prosecuted for it. Many of the things are outside the statute of limitations as well. All he had to do today, if he wanted to testify, was be honest. As long as he was honest, even about committing a crime, he would have no jeopardy. But I think the pardon has given him more immunity than most people would ever get. Like if you offer a witness immunity in exchange for testimony, he has blanket immunity. The president gave him blanket immunity for virtually anything he could have possibly done, while at NIH. So I think we all have to individually answer this question. We welcome you to be part of helping us figure out the question, but there will be a vote, at least right now, there will be planned to be a vote next week on contempt.
There we go. Vote next week on contempt, guys. We will see what happens because I personally do not think, let me stop this here. I personally do not think anything's going to come of it. To be honest with you, I do not think anything whatsoever is going to come of this. To be honest with you, we've been down this road before. We've done this dance before. And what I would like to see is the auto pen be challenged. That Biden may not have had knowledge of its use. And if we go back to when there was a challenge with Bill Clinton, there was with some appointment that was made, right? And they found that, okay, as long as he intended to do it, he could have a subordinate sign. And then there was an Obama thing that was challenged, and it was the same thing, kind of along the same lines, right? So there was a document in 2005 made, DOJ's counsel of whatever memorandum on this particular topic. So it's actually never been challenged in court on the pretense that the president had no knowledge of the auto pen. And it's pretty obvious. It's kind of like if I have a check book that's someone else's and I write myself a check and then I sign their signature. Yeah, it's their signature if I copied it. But did they authorize me to sign that check and know the amount that I was writing it out for? That's really what it comes down to, in my opinion. So we shall see. But I did want to play Trump's response to this whole thing. And then I'm pretty much done on this topic here. And then a couple other things. I'll leave with this song. It's pretty funny, but
Dr. Fauci
whatever.
invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times today. Senator Rand Paul said he's going to
111 times.
Contempt of Congress. Do you think Dr. Fauci should face repercussions for this?
Well, I watched the whole thing today, but more importantly, I was a part of the whole Fauci. I inherited Fauci. He was here from the 1980s, so I had him for a period of time. And I disagreed with him on a lot. I would have had to close down the whole country if I listened to him. I went the Federalist way, which is basically to let the governors decide. And generally speaking, the Republican governors did very well. The Democrat governors did not very well. But Fauci wanted to have nobody wearing masks, if you remember, and then everybody had to wear 5 masks.
Yeah,
as many
I think
masks
he
as
should
you
be
could
arrested
get.
now,
I mean,
too.
made
I
a lot
agree.
of mistakes. And he wasn't a big factor for me. He was a very big factor for Biden. And if you remember, even though we were sort of prime time in terms of that whole disaster of COVID, far people died fewer in the Trump administration than in the Biden administration. We ran it well. Operation Warp Speed was talked about as being one of the great success stories anywhere in the world, actually. And we did a good job. But many more people died under Biden than died in the Trump administration from COVID. COVID was a disaster, but Fauci did not help.
Fauci did not help. He didn't help do anything, guys. Let's just be real. Fauci, I don't even know what to say about Fauci. Let me pull this other one up real quick here on X. Remember this, guys? I'm just going to play it. It's funny. All right. There was so much cringe shit going on at the time, if you don't remember.
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci, yes? Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
Oh, good Lord. Save us all. Save us all. I got to keep that one as a bookmark because that one's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And that's something I'm going to do another day. There we go. Those are other things for another show that I'm doing. And this will be the last video I pull on this stuff here. Where is it? Mr. Fauci got his ass handed to him.
Right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot. The people in America are not
America
settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot or a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it.
20 years is not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no.
One guy shut him down, guys. One guy.
Talking to you right now, as close as
Right
we are,
now,
is
he's
that
trying to
I
get
get
on his level or
vaccinated.
something, right?
But
Belittle
you can
him
allow
like he's
thousands of
stupid.
people like you don't get vaccinated.
Like
we're gonna
you.
let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu, then, right?
And not
It's
like
much
the
more
common
serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually, too.
You know how many people died of
Look at
the
them all
flu
showing up in
last
masks.
year?
Boy, we're going
I
to
mean,
give
not
you a
this year,
shot right
virtually
here.
none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30.
Get in line, boy.
How many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all giving that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely.
All
Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, it's something else going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something else. It's something else going on.
It
with
is
that.
something going on.
There's
with
something
it.
else
You're
going
right,
on
but
with
I'm glad millions of people like me and most everybody here didn't get an incentive. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city. But I won't keep doing these.
Yeah, hey, keep on trucking on, because no one's listening to your shit.
About fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
That guy is a G, bro. That guy is the GOAT, bro. Oh my good Lord, that guy was a GOAT. But either way, I'm going to stop there. There we go. Either way, guys, I'm going to end the stream here. I appreciate everybody being with me this afternoon. If you got the time, go hit this link for Scuba Steve and Haley's thing. I'm going to type Scuba's thing in the chat one more time here. Hit that link. If you type Scuba, it'll bring up a link. Hit that link before we get out of here. Give him a subscribe, guys, so he could try to hit that number. Let's see if it even pulls up. I just put it in the chat. What's going on? There it is. There it is. Hit that link. Give him a follow also on X, on subscribe to on his YouTube. But either way, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. We're going to raid Mr. Bill after the song. I'll see you guys over there. I'm going to be in his chat. I'm going to grab a snack, and then I'll be in Mr. Bill's chat. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, have a great night.
Unfiltered and raw. Say it how I feel, that's law. Stars and stripes on my heart. I ain't ever gonna tear that off. From the back road dust to the big White House we saw. I'm pro-America standing tall. Unfiltered, unfiltered and raw. This for the welders, the nurses, the cashiers, counting every dime.